Good evening. It is June 8th, 2023. This is a public hearing for the Town of Needham Conservation Commission. My name is Janet Bernardo, the Conservation Commission Chair, and I'm going to confirm that members and staff are present and can hear me. Peter.
Here.
Allison.
Here.
Sue.
Here.
Dave.
Here.
Debbie.
Here.
Clay.
Here.
Great. This is an open meeting of the Town of Needham Conservation Commission and being conducted remotely, consistent with Governor Baker's executive order of March 12, 2020. All supporting materials have been provided to members of this board and are available on the Conservation Commission website. The public is encouraged to follow along using the posted agenda unless the chair notes otherwise. We are now turning to the first item on the agenda. Before we do so, permit me to cover some ground rules for effective and clear conduct of our business and to ensure accurate meeting minutes. The chair will introduce each hearing on the agenda. I will introduce the applicant and or their consultant to begin their project presentation. After they conclude their presentation, the chair will go down the line of members, inviting each by name to provide any comment or questions. Please hold until your name is called. Further, please remember to mute your phone or computer when you are not speaking. Please remember to speak clearly and in a way that helps generate accurate minutes. For any response, please wait until the chair yields the floor to you, and please state your name before speaking. Finally, each vote taken in this meeting will be conducted by a roll call vote. Okay, so I'm going to jump around on the agenda a little bit with the goal of finishing as quickly as possible. So, we're going to just 920 South Street and Lot 1 and Lot 2 are going to be continued. So we open them and then we say that they're going to be continued and then we take a motion for that, right? So for 920 South Street, Lot 1, DP file number 234905, the applicant has requested to continue this notice of intent to the next meeting, which is June
22nd.
22nd, 2023 at 7:00 p.m. Can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Can I have a second? All in favor? Peter,
Aye.
Allison,
Aye.
Sue,
Aye.
Dave,
Aye.
Janet, aye. Great. And then we have 920 South Street, Lot 2, DP file number 234904. The applicant has asked to continue this one as well to June 22nd on 2023 at 7:00 p.m. Can I have a motion to continue, please?
So moved.
Can I have a second?
A second.
All in favor? Peter,
Aye.
Allison,
Aye.
Sue,
Aye.
Dave,
Aye.
Janet, aye. Great, those two are off the agenda. Now, 34 Meadowbrook Road, DP file number 234906, continued notice of intent. Is there, Susan, is that yours? Susan MacArthur? Okay,
Brett's here as well.
and Brett Reese, applicant, thank you. Anybody else on your team here that we should recognize?
No.
Good,
No.
all right, you have the floor.
Okay. May I share my screen?
Yes, you may. This is a continued notice of intent, by the way.
Okay. Can you see that?
I'm not always good at these things. Oh, I have to move you guys over. Everybody else can probably see and I can't.
Is it on
Yep.
the screen?
It is.
Okay.
It just took me a
Okay.
minute.
That's
forgot
okay.
that part.
All right. I'm Susan MacArthur from MacArthur Environmental Consulting, and I'm here with Brett Reese, the homeowner and applicant for 34 Meadowbrook Road. At the last commission hearing, the commission had requested that we provide riverfront area mitigation for the proposed impacts to the riverfront. And so we've come up with a mitigation area. It is located on the opposite side of the brook. It is a grassy area. It has just some fringe shrubs and whatnot. So it's 273 square feet, and we're proposing 3 ostrich fern, 3 marginal wood fern, 2 pink azalea, 2 high bush blueberry, and 1 rhododendron. It's a little shady over there. It gets a little bit of sun, but we think those will do fine in that area. And prior to installing that, we are proposing just an erosion control barrier because it's kind of close to the edge of the brook. So, oh, and as the area will be seeded, these will be spread randomly, planted randomly throughout, and it'll be seeded with a conservation seed mix as ground cover.
Great. And I assume that all these are native, or all these are
Yep.
native plants? Okay,
Mhm.
great. And so any of the commission members, I'll go through. Peter, any comment?
No comment.
Dave,
No, this looks good.
Sue,
No comment.
Allison,
Just a tiny comment, rhododendron is misspelled.
Oh, I'm sorry.
you can-
Oh, yeah. Yes, good point.
we won't hold you up for that one. Do we need any more information for this applicant?
May I just want to point out again, so there is an existing deck here. The line is right here. So that part is, already disturbed. And we're adding this new addition and new deck for this area that my cursor is existing on, and it'll be new deck right there. It's only about 35 square feet. So I just wanted again to make the point that it's only 35 additional square feet of new area in the riverfront. And I know you all attended a workshop and with the DEP and everything, but I think something's a little, well, I mean, we're doing the mitigation. Don't get me wrong, but I'm just, pointing that out, that it's, I think maybe the way it's interpreted is differently. And then I also wanted to show you that I found this memo from the DEP, and I highlighted, it's about the Rivers Protection Act, and it does say existing structures such as single-family homes and accessory uses are exempt from the Rivers Protection Act. So I'm just pointing it out to you. You might want to talk to Alicia and just.
Yeah, we did. We actually had an email with her that backs up what we're saying. So, thank you.
Yeah, okay, and and we will keep that in mind because there's others that are on this call that have had the same question. And so we have gone back and forth with DP a number of times at this stage, because every meeting we have the same conversation with, not you, but others as well. So we hear you, and this is what we're being told. So we appreciate you providing the mitigation. And we also really appreciate that you're outside of the 25-foot buffer zone. I'm just pointing that out because there's others coming right behind you that may not be. But
Okay.
so do we need anything else for this application? Are we ready to close the hearing? And if so, I'll take a motion.
I move we close the hearing.
You can have a second.
Second.
All in favor, Peter,
Aye.
Allison,
Aye.
David,
Aye.
Sue,
Aye.
yeah, aye. Great, thank you very much. I think we will be discussing the order of conditions for that later on this evening. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So now we're moving on to 46, 50, 62, 94 Heather Lane, MWRA Siphon Structure Project, DP file number 234903. This is also a continued notice of intent. Who do we have to talk about that?
Good evening, Milan Horbaczewski, MWRA, and we also have Mike Cunningham with Kleinfelder. Thanks for having us back tonight. Yes, this is the continuance of basically a discussion on our existing easement running through the back of those properties. Thank you to Deb for getting some additional contact information for us. I had a conversation with Simeon Bruner of Bruner Cott, which is the property owner at 46. And was able to discuss with him the project and what it is that we intend. I also shared with him the drawings such that he has a good feel for what we're doing there. He's not interested in any additional trees being planted on his property. So I think at this point we've exhausted the ability to plant in that area on private property, and as we discussed, outside of our easement. So I think we need to look into other options, and I think the one that comes to mind, we've got a couple, but I think we can either play it that we can include something within the construction contract, which would provide a 1-for-1, if that's acceptable, with a planting plan and schedule such that the contractor would have a planting that would be acceptable to the town, and you, Needham, would be able to do what with that which you would want. For example, with the contractor with the approval of the authority, and Needham tree warden would dictate where those trees would be planted, trees, shrubs, whatever we come up with. And obviously in lieu of that, if a payment was preferred at that time to the tree fund or something, if that was more amenable, we'd come to that during the construction contract.
Great, thank you for talking to the neighbors. We really appreciate putting that extra effort in. And Deb, do you have something to add on this as far as your discussions with the tree warden?
Yeah, I did explain the situation to Ed Olson, and he said that they would be happy to take a donation and that he would work it out with the treasurer's department to make sure that it went into their fund.
Okay. So, well, like I said, so we're right, we're proposing, a combination of things. Maybe perhaps we will put something in the contract that way that obviously dictates the amount, and then we'd have the contractor out of his bid price pay you, because we'd get a schedule of values from him. So what we'll do is we'll put something in there, a scheduling plan, and then that cost can be borne by the contractor based on the amount that he had bid for that work for those trees, if that's acceptable. And so that would happen sometime during the construction contract, certainly before it's closed out, either the trees or the compensation in lieu of.
And I assume that we would, because I know that this is kind of an exempt activity, but you do have a notice of intent, so we would be creating an order of conditions, and we would put that right into our order as well. So you would have it in kind of both places. You'll put it into your bid documents, and we will have written in our order.
Fair enough. So does 1-to-1 sound amenable?
What do we usually require? 2-to-1 trees?
Yeah.
2-to-1, yeah.
2 trees for every tree comes down, or it's 4 shrubs for every tree that comes down. So it's that's our policy.
Right, but I thought that we were negotiating on
We
this.
were negotiating. Oh, we're negotiating.
Considering that.
Well, let me see what the commission thinks. Because there was some negotiation, because this is a utility that is exempt and working through, and so coming up with Peter, I guess, how comfortable are you with a 1-to-1 exchange? They will be providing the funds for our tree warden to plant trees somewhere else and need them.
So I'm sorry, so the 1-to-1 doesn't mean that there'll be trees planted in that area. It's just 1-to-1 donations given to the tree warden.
Yes.
Well, a planting plan would be put together. What we'd propose is that we would provide you with, something that would make sense. We'll have that in a contract document as part of the lump sum that the contractor bids on. He's gonna bid on, X, arborvitae, Y maples and, whatever the equivalency is that we
Sure.
determine. And then during the construction contract, either your warden would dictate where those trees should be planted by the contractor, or a lump sum payment out of the construction contractor's
I
contract.
see.
Yeah, so it'd be sort of an either or. I think what we're trying to do is, I think the authority's not as comfortable providing an upfront allowance. They would prefer to do it out of the construction contract itself. So what might happen is that you may get that lump allowance money, but it would be from the contractor, from the authority to the contractor to you.
Yeah, I mean, given the circumstance, I think 2-to-1 is appropriate. I think 1-to-1 or 1 plus a bunch of shrubs, I think is what we had discussed. And if you're unable to do that, then 2-to-1 still seems fair to me.
The understanding is that because the easement, they can't put any trees in the easement. They were going back to talk to the neighbors in the hopes of planting trees within the buffer zone adjacent to the easement, but the neighbors were not interested in that. And so
I think
that's why we're here.
More, if I may, more than just logistics as far as why, we're looking to negotiate on the 2-to-1, more than just logistics. Enderby is not the property owner, so the logistics are the challenge, but also, yeah, it is a utility. It's a utility easement. It never should have been grown in the first place. It's, it's got pipes underneath. There was a time when this was cleared land, under the easement provisions, Emdenbury has the right to clear it and keep it clear. We're coming to you, Emdenbury, and us as their consultant, just, in the good nature of working with you and looking to, provide some mutual acceptability. So
Well,
that was sort of the deviation for the 2-to-1, not just simply logistics of trying to plant an
But-
easement that they don't own.
But I'm sorry, so my understanding was that, yeah, part of this was the existing easement, but part of this is actually new?
No, it's
No,
not, it's
no.
not, none of it's new.
No.
All of it
So-
is
It's the
existing easement.
existing easement that's being cleared for maintenance.
Well, have other utilities historically done like what about Cutler? That
And
planting,
ever was National Grid or Eversource.
yeah, was that 2-to-1?
Well, those are different from us, if I may interrupt. We have legislative enabling act, which allows us to declare with no compensation, actually. Unlike private utilities.
I see.
But we're trying to be good neighbors, and obviously if it's something that is a sticking point, we felt that 1-to-1 was
How
fair.
many trees total are coming down?
Tony,
10,
was it
10 above
10?
6 inches. Yeah.
And 10 above 6. Allison, do you have an opinion?
I think that if they're able to do, I mean, I really don't know, I'm not a lawyer, but if they're able to do what they want to do and not give any compensation by law, and they're in good faith giving 1-to-1, that I'm not afraid of precedent. That may be wrong, but it seems to me logically, would not be afraid of precedent saying, oh, well, they got 1-to-1 because it's a completely different animal. That's my opinion.
Right. Yep. Dave, you have an opinion?
Well, I was thinking that the exemption is for the permitting and all that, not necessarily for the performance. Right, isn't that the wording of like a
Well,
utility?
the exemption
our-
is that they don't have to even do anything.
Right. The enabling act allows us to clear the entire width of that easement.
All right.
Well, DEP said that we could still ask.
Yeah, and so-
So we're still asking and we're getting 1-to-1, it sounds
They
like.
said it was within our right to ask them.
My
other
other
anything.
My other comment is, what kind of money we talking about here,
Well, it's a tree, so it's
I
whatever.
mean,
she costs.
this sounds like, a couple you know,
$200 a tree or something? Yeah. we're
yeah, so
talking-
I mean,
More than-
why not 2 to 1? We're talking about $200, $400. You know,
Well, it depends on the contractor, I suppose.
Well,
no,
please specify, we estimate the trees for, as far as I'm concerned, trees of any kind of caliber that is beyond, personal nursery sized trees and shrubs, including installation, roughly run $750.
All right.
So,
Why don't
what's-
I- Why
Right.
don't I talk to Ed and find out what they use for a formula for this kind of
Okay.
thing for
sounds good.
trees? And
Yeah.
then we'll have it drafted for the next meeting and I'll send out an email after I talk to Ed about what he thinks.
Okay.
And we
like
can
I said,
decide the next meeting if it's 1-to-1 or 2-to-1.
Yeah, and we want to be good neighbors. Once again, if the commission decides that it must be 2 to 1, then we'll work with you. Whatever you feel is adequate. Like we say, it's an easement that should never have had any growth on it, but we're willing to do whatever we can to work as a neighbor with Town of Needham.
Okay, we appreciate that. Sue, do you have a thought?
I actually would go for the negotiation being being a utility.
I'm sorry, so what did you say that again?
I would go for the negotiation. that
You'd go for
having-
the 1-to-1?
As Allison said, it is a different animal. It's
Yeah.
a utility.
Yeah, I see it as a different animal as well. Okay, so we appreciate this whole project. When are you expecting to move this forward?
We would like to let the contract this fall such that construction will be awarded by the end of the year, certainly, and the majority of the work would be done during an 18-month time frame in calendar 24 through the beginning of 25.
Okay,
Any
so,
one site, I should say, although 18 months, there's 30 sites of this project. So like we're thinking that the site work at each site might total, 3 to 6 weeks at each
Okay.
site.
And in this particular case with the clearing, it might be a little bit longer, and what
Yeah.
we'll foresee is the contractor probably clearing this property and not necessarily performing the work on the structure at the same time. They may clear, prepare the roadway, come back at a later time and work on the structure itself, and even that has
there's
a
probably
couple-
two different
Yeah.
teams, right?
Exactly. So they'll be there for a couple of weeks at a time theoretically, and so as Mike said, maybe 6 to 8 weeks sometime during that 18-month time frame. But we would let the commission know once we have a schedule from the contractor and give you, hopefully a month's heads up as to what the game plan is.
So we can close tonight. I assume you would be fine with that, and we would not
Yes.
issue until the next time. And in the meantime, we will get some feedback from our tree warden and have a discussion amongst ourselves.
I don't know,
on
do
the-
you want to close? I
Yeah,
mean,
I think we want to close because it's just the condition. Our order of conditions will be our order of conditions.
True,
He's not gonna like change anything in their documents.
right.
We would change something in our document.
well,
We
once
will
we close, we can't discuss it any further, right? So I don't know.
not.
I just don't see a reason to close it.
Oh,
When,
but we could close an issue at the next one.
I
Oh,
would
you save
suggest
yourself another item on your next agenda. There's a reason.
I know, that's a really good.
well, it's
reason to
gonna
do
be on there anyways, because we'll be issuing the order.
it.
Sure.
So-
Right,
So in other words, if
Right.
you close tonight, there's no discussion amongst the commission or from the applicant at the next meeting.
so
What you're
we'll keep
saying.
it
Right.
open and then we'll plan to close it at the next one and issue at the next one, and then you can.
I think so.
Okay, and so we'll leave it at that Debbie and I will discuss this over whatever you come up with on your end and we'll
Yeah.
just, okay,
I'll talk to Ed and see what he suggests per tree and then we can work it out.
very good.
All
Is there
right.
anybody else in the audience that would like to weigh in on this discussion?
There are no hands raised.
Okay, and board members, we've had our discussion. Okay, so I will look for a motion to continue DEP file number 234903 to June 22nd, 2023.
So moved.
Second,
All in favor? Peter,
Hi.
Allison,
Hi,
Dave,
aye.
Sue,
Aye.
yeah, aye, great, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
So
Good evening,
it's up to
everyone.
you whether you want to be here next time or not. You don't really have to be. It's up, so.
Okay,
Don't feel
well, I
like you
guess it all
have.
depends. on what, Debbie, and I,
Right,
obviously. the
yeah,
commissioner
you'll
needs,
probably know what the decision is. Okay.
Exactly. Great. All right.
Okay.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Take care.
Okay, 199 Maple Street, DP file number 234. I just got a file number 907 or something like that. 907? Is that true? Where did Debbie go? Oh, you just told me that you haven't got a file number.
Yeah,
Find it on-
907.
907. This is a notice of intent, and who is here to discuss this?
Hi,
Diane?
Diane. Yes, Diane from Field Resources. I'm here this evening. The homeowner was gonna try to make it on, but I don't see him on.
I think I see an applicant that says,
Oh,
Can
there
you
he
hear
is.
can you
Sorry.
say your name for the record?
Sure. Ben Faseha and Ruth Hailu,
Ruth Heidi?
Hailu.
I do. Okay, thank you. Okay, ready to go.
Okay, so can I share my screen with you all?
Yes, you may.
Okay, let's see. I thought I had it open. It's not showing as being open. I'm sorry.
worries.
But again, we're here this evening with the homeowners, I should say, and they are proposing, as I'm talking through this, I will get this open. They're proposing a sunroom in the back that would be sitting on sonotubes. This yard has been, here we go. The wetlands have been delineated by Karen Skinner Catroni.
I'm not
It is
seeing
a-
anything. Am I supposed to yet?
Yep, do you not see that?
Does anyone else see it?
Hold on, let me just go back one step.
I'm seeing Zoom.
Stop. Okay, try one more time. If I open the share screen before I open the plan, it doesn't work. There we
Oh,
go.
okay, this looks better. Yep,
Yeah,
now
okay.
you just have to turn it.
Yeah, it's, and of course, again, the wetlands were delineated by Karen. Again, it's an armored drainage ditch. And that is, I don't know if you can see it, but the armored bank is here, there is an existing fence that has some vegetation between the fence and the armored bank. And currently it's all lawn, on the upland side of the fence with an existing shed that's currently within the 25. And I know there's been some concern about work in the 25, but this particular lot is a little unique in that it is a two-family. I know the lot itself is 10,821, but exclusive use for this particular lot is only 5,140 square feet. So it's the lot itself for this particular homeowner is very tricky to work with in the sense that this red dotted line is the building envelope for the lot. And again, they have a sunroom. It's going to be sitting on sonotubes, and technically the only portion of the work that will be in the 25 is one sonotube, which would be in this corner. The proposed project does include removing the shed and replacing it outside of the 25. So technically, in this particular project, we are reducing structure within the 25. Again, the calculations that we did are based on the structure, but technically it's only one sonotube that will have disturbance within the 25-foot no disturb. So technically, I believe we're reducing, let me just slide this over a little bit more. I think it's 60, oh gosh. I can't see it because your faces are in the way, but I believe it's 60 something square feet that we're reducing the existing structure in the 25-foot no disturb. Additionally, because of the nature of the armored bank and the nature of the cul-de-sac, because we are at the end of the cul-de-sac, all the drainage kind of drains down into this property. Homeowners do have not a wet basement, but they have a sub pump that constantly is pumping. Again, it kind of circulates because it gets stuck. Because of the armored bank, the drainage is not allowed to enter and relieve seek relief from the lot. So it's a constant cycle. So what we've proposed in this project as well is a recharge, I should say, a sub pump emitter that we put closest to the drainage ditch in hopes that we can relieve some of the water on Locust as well. And again, that is in hopes to, you know, it is clean water. It is from the sub pump. It's not coming from the roof. It wouldn't be coming from any driveway. So it is clean. And we're hoping to, you know, kind of work with the lot itself and get some of that groundwater to where it belongs, you know, into that drainage ditch. Again, currently, being that it's an armored bank, there's no way for it to flow into that bank, into that stream, the intermittent stream. We do have the erosion control that we've proposed during construction, though again, it's only sonotubes, and the shed will be moved from there to here at the worst case scenario, but the homeowners technically haven't really decided on a definitive location of that shed, but we will mark, we will make sure it will be outside of the 25, but not exactly sure where it would be, but that's, you know, the worst case scenario. Does anybody have any questions?
I guess my first question is, if this is a 2-family, is there like a divide in the rear yard?
Yeah, so we have that line delineated, and it's kind of tough to see in this particular one, but this line right here, and we have it
Okay.
marked,
Yep,
That is-
that's the rear.
that's the rear exclusive use, yes.
Okay.
And in the front as well, I mean, it's a little more evenly cut in the
Yeah.
front, it's right down the middle.
All right. Commission members, Peter?
Yeah, do you have to stick into the 25? I mean, it's a little corner, I know.
Right,
but-
again, the addition is
mean, I-
modest, it's a 10, it's not large, it's, you know, it is, you know, not a huge sunroom.
No, I mean, I think it's just a matter of respecting the line. So you do this with setbacks, you do it with other things. I don't see why. I mean, I know engineering and design is a little bit more complicated if you don't square it off, but I guess that's my comment.
Dave?
Yeah, I echo Peter's comment. But I got
Well-
another comment, this drainage, you know, the drain line. I mean, that's, you know, construction in 25-foot zone. I don't think that that's allowed by our regulations. And then secondly, there's no drainage from this addition shown. And my understanding of our regulations is that it should be infiltrated on site, you know, no matter what size it is. It doesn't fall under the Needham stormwater bylaw, but our regulations do say that the stormwater should be infiltrated on site, or the you know, runoff from any new impervious area. So this appears to be like a covered deck type of, I mean, it's a 1-story structure, right?
Correct, yes.
Okay.
And again, the reason for not infiltrating is because the groundwater, basically you're just circulating the groundwater. It's going from the roof runoff into an infiltration, which we could easily do, which would be pumped out by the sub pump. So it's just a constant cycle, and that's what we're trying to help the homeowners with a wet basement. So it's
But you also,
again,
you also have the runoff from the addition that you have to deal with.
no, exactly. That's what I meant by, you know, we can simply infiltrate for that. But again, it's putting it
Well,
into the
I mean, what are you proposing? That the roof runoff just runs underground?
right. It's a sheet flow, right? It would.
Okay.
But again, we can easily add infiltration. It just, you know, it just, because of the nature of this lot, and we have you know, they're talking about precedent, you know, we have done this before where we've done a direct flow from a sub pump in another project that we had done several years ago. And the commission did see that as clean water, and they did allow for that because of high groundwater. And again, this is a drainage ditch, and that's what this is for. It's to take, you know, water from one place to another. And, you know, because of the nature of the armored bank, basically it stops the natural flow of the water from that water table to allow it to flow into that, you know, that waterway and be taken away where it should go naturally.
And the rest of that area, is that lawn? Is that what
Yeah.
that is? Okay.
Well, again, there's an existing fence here that's been put up by, I guess, the town. It's an old
I
rusted
do
fence.
have photos available if anyone's interested.
Yep, they were in the packet as well. So it's a rusted old fence, and the homeowner has, there are some invasives that we were gonna also work to remove as well in that small area for you know, for removal of invasive species. So that is also in the packet. Let me just grab that. Again, trying to increase the natural, a more natural habitat of vegetation in that area, though we don't want to propose any plantings until we get a handle on the invasives that are currently there.
You're not taking any trees down though, right?
No, no trees are being removed. So we have some buckthorn, bittersweet, jewelweed, and multiflora rose that
I'm
that we will
surprised you with jewelweed. That seems, is that an invasive, Allison?
Yes,
Oh. I think it's kind of pretty.
It's good for poison ivy.
Jewelweed?
Oh, yeah, you rub the sap on your skin, man. Nothing
it
better.
likes it likes a wet place.
Yeah, but I thought it was just a wetland plant. I didn't think it was an invasive wetland plant.
It grows like wildfire. I mean, I don't know what
Yeah.
you call invasive, you know, I mean, I don't know. One person's, you know, diamond is another person's piece of glass.
Whenever I see that, I know it's a wetland.
Yeah, me too. That's one of my things that I know.
One of your go-to.
One of my go-tos. Allison, you have, oh, Dave, are you finished?
Yeah, okay.
Allison?
Yeah, I had some questions. I mean, I had the same questions about, you know, digging in the 25 for, even if it's one, you know, footing, you know, or sonotube, it's still in the corner of the deck, it's still in the 25, and also the pipe. But I'm trying to understand when you're talking about that this wall stops the groundwater from moving down. So my question is, what is the elevation of the basement?
I don't have that elevation. We
The
didn't get-
elevation, it seems like, you know, the elevation of it's about 200 going, you know, like around the building at the
Mhm.
front. And
Mhm.
and the elevation, it looks at inside the, yeah, it's like around 200. And the elevation in the stream, the armored stream, is like 193. So it's like,
Well, this 194 is the top of the wall. And it's.
oh, at top of the
easily-
wall. Okay.
Yeah, it's easily 2 to 3 feet. It's you know, it's
Okay.
easily 3 feet.
So I was wondering if this is maintained by the town, right? I mean, if it really
Correct.
is holding back the groundwater, I mean, I don't know. But if it is, why couldn't one put some, you know, like drill some weep holes through the wall to allow the groundwater to seep into the channel? I mean, I'm just
Mhm.
talking about something very simple.
Well, we actually
If that's
thought
really
about,
what you're saying is a problem, that might help. And the
Yeah, we
other, yeah, go ahead.
no, I was gonna say, we actually thought about that for even the sub pump, but we weren't sure if that's something that would be allowed. I don't know if that would,
I don't know.
weaken the wall.
I'm just talking about a little, you know, a few weeps, like 8 feet on center or something. you know,
Mhm.
like down below wherever it seems to be backing up to. I mean, the best thing would be to have it be like, you know, obviously above the water level, where
Mhm.
when it's full of water, but that might help. It's possible. And I mean, if this is a town structure that is affecting the basement of this house, it seems to me that one could possibly go to the, you know, I don't know, I'm just throwing it out, to the town and have like a trench drain and, you know, like figure out what could make the situation better without
Mhm.
drilling through the wetland and putting you know,
I
drainage
think we,
structures in the 25. I don't know.
no, again, we would be amenable to that. I'm not even sure who to approach. Would that be engineering? Do you
I
know,
would think
Janet?
the town engineer, Tom Ryder. I think you
Mhm.
might want to have that conversation with Tom Ryder to see if he has any suggestions. I'm struggling with the whole groundwater because groundwater eventually balances itself out.
It does.
So it should be at the same level as the water on the other side of the wall.
No,
So-
not if it's
But-
not if
Well,
it's
because even the-
solid.
Yeah, it's even the floor of it is
Yeah, no.
concrete.
Yeah,
Oh, the
no.
floor of the brook is
Yes.
concrete, the whole thing is concrete all the
Mhm.
way.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. It's like a structure that is, it just sounds like it is impeding. And if that's in fact true, then I think you might get some remediation or some help from the town to fix it. So that there is some drainage that can flow into that stream. Without going through
definitely
the, you know,
Yeah, a known issue on Maple Street. The town understands that there's a problem there.
Yeah, like there's
So-
no catch basins at the end of this cul-de-sac on their side of the street, and they're the low end. So, you know, where is it all gonna go? But to
Right.
there.
another thing is to put, you know, drains around the foundation at the front where all the water is coming down, you know, like at the bottom of the foundation.
Mhm.
And waterproofing and things like that. I mean, there's other things you can do to the building. I mean, I'm trying to make it better than just having, you know, just this one thing. I'm not just saying it from a point of view of a conservation commissioner, but if you really have water in your basement, I think you've got to, there may be multiple ways to head it off rather than just have a sump pump.
Yeah, well, currently they do have a sub pump, but yeah.
Where
And we
does the
just got-
sump pump go right now?
Honestly, I'm not sure. Do you guys know where the pump actually goes?
There's
Ben?
a discharge right now.
The
sump pump
pipe, it discharges onto the lawn in the back.
Right in the,
Comes out in the lawn.
because it comes
Yeah.
out currently, it does come out. if
I have
can-
a photo of it as well.
I mean, it comes out from here on the house.
Mhm.
I'm not sure
for-
where actually,
Is that for both parts of the house or just the part that we're talking about?
What about the neighbor? Does he have do they have water in their basement too?
Yes, they do. They have a sump pump also.
they have their own.
Yes.
Sue, did we get to you?
No, actually, I do have a couple questions. First of all, it looks like the sunroom you could pull back. So it's outside of the 25 foot. It looks like there's space on the existing house where you could pull it back outside of the 25 foot. I don't like to see it in the 25 foot. That's number one. Number two, I am all for something in an infiltration system nearby the house for the the new sunroom addition roof runoff. Third question is, if all this water is being drained back to the drainage ditch, what happens to the water level of the neighbors?
Well, this goes, I mean, this does flow into a culvert to the pond. It doesn't go to a specific neighbor per se. It actually is culverted, the house to the right of us, if you would. On their property, I believe it culverts right there. So it goes underground.
How deep is this drainage ditch?
Again, the top of the top of the wall is about 3 feet higher than the bottom.
It's a concrete, basically like a three-sided
Ye-
box.
Yes,
Is,
Um,
is the top of the wall flush with the ground?
pretty
Right.
much, maybe an inch or two lower.
So if it's 194, then the bottom of the channel should be around 190.
193.
Well, it's 194, the ground is 194, 195, right?
Well, I
If it's-
think, yeah,
if it's 3 feet lower, say it's 192, which is, like 7 feet lower than the grade in front of the house. So it's probably about the same elevation as the bottom of the basement.
Yeah,
And that's
'Cause-
where the problem is coming from. Basement.
Stevie, you said you have photos? I,
There-
Yeah, Clay has them.
oh, Clay, do you have some photos? I guess, I think you've heard the various commission members saying that we really don't want to see any building in the 25-foot no disturb zone, which is, the point of the 25-foot is to protect the wetlands as well as to provide room for stormwater and flood mitigation and whatnot. I also, I can appreciate the sump pump and wanting to get it out, but it almost, I think you should have a conversation with the engineering department and see if they have any other solutions for you. I know that in the past, they have allowed people to go right into a catch basin in the street, so they may allow you to discharge directly. Having the bubbler on top, I just think when there's ice and snow, it's not gonna work. So,
well, that was our first choice, but again, because there's no catch basin there, that's the problem. This-
well, I hear that, but I think I would have a conversation with them because
Mhm.
you may feel like this, like, I'm not feeling good about you digging that close to that wall to put this structure in.
Mhm.
And then also, I don't know that it's gonna work long-term for you for this particular issue. So, I think trying to talk to our engineering department on what could be an improvement on that. It would be good to hear what they have to say on it, I think. That's. Clay, you finding photos? Oh, good. This is what, the sump pump?
Correct,
Oh, so it just comes right out there, right next to the house. This
correct.
is your sump pump coming out like this? Okay.
So
Okay,
you can see you could see the foundation isn't low in the ground.
right,
this is
because
the
there's
back of the-
steps. Mhm.
Yeah.
The steps in the front. I mean,
So,
it almost seems like you could just, if I know that I agree it's clean because it's groundwater. Anyway, this is okay,
That's the fence adjacent to the stream.
okay.
Keep going, Clay. That's
Okay.
the back.
The back of the house, back of the house.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's
that's the shed that's in the.
That's the shed.
That's gonna get relocated.
pulling
Okay.
out of there. That's what it looks like behind the shed. Another picture behind the shed. The shed itself.
Very thorough
then-
photography. Okay, where is our brook?
So the brook's to the right behind the shed.
Are we gonna get a picture of the brook?
Well,
there is a
it's
picture
on-
that,
it's on the other side of the fence. That
There
was
is a
in the first picture.
there is a picture that in the packet that I supplied.
Yeah, I did see that.
So
in
it's
one-
it's on the other side of that fence. You can kind of see where the wall is.
Okay, yeah, I guess the commissioners probably all have I don't know, unless there's a way for Clay for you to pull out the photo that's in the packet. I don't know if you can do that, well, very easily. The other thing is as far as providing stormwater management, oh yeah, see, that's a good photo, and it's a, how deep do you think this water is?
It was running pretty heavy there. This was earlier in the year. Obviously, you can see there's no greenery. So it was running
that
pretty
the-
heavy.
The DPW just did some maintenance on this. Is this an area that they did maintenance on?
I don't believe so. This is behind the housing on the other side.
This isn't behind this house at 199?
Yeah, they
Right,
did
so-
do the maintenance over there.
They did, right?
Yes,
We
in the
walked
summer,
around there.
last summer.
Yeah,
Okay.
last summer, we walked around and they cleared a bunch of areas.
clean,
Did
yeah.
that- They cleared like some of the tree roots and saplings that were right on the wall because they didn't want them to interfere with the structural stability of the wall. So Mike Redsky was part of that project as well as Tom Ryder. But they are the ones maybe to have the discussion with. And because I'm also wondering, does it make more sense to, instead of having your bubbler almost to have the pipe just go right over the wall into the, and so you're not digging anything up. But, and then for the stormwater management of the addition, would you consider a rain garden? And so it doesn't have to be deep. It just has to be on this, a surface area that
Mhm.
is a depression, small depression that you plant some flowers in and make a nice little rain garden out of. So it doesn't have to be a subsurface chamber system. It can
Right, I
just
know the
be a flower
homeowners like,
garden.
they have a green thumb, so that's something we can discuss. They do a great job on the side of the house. It's beautiful. And in the front, they do a great
And our
job.
rain garden is beautiful. Do we still have that on the website, Deb? Where did Deb go? One of the neighbors there's a neighbor on Great Plain Avenue that came in front of us because they were putting an addition on and they could have put a subsurface chamber system in the front of the house, but they didn't want to dig up their flowers, so they ended up putting a good sized rain garden on one side, and then she documented it for us. And I believe it's on our website. Clay, is that true? It was on our website at one point.
I believe so. I'd have to, I don't believe
Yeah.
it's been removed, so.
Yeah, it's really nice. And she was really into it and she's part of the garden club or something. And they did a nice job on this rain garden that was managing all of the runoff from a pretty substantial addition. But
Take a
I
look at
guess
that.
we, we really don't approve buildings in the 25-foot no disturb zone. We kind of did a little back research on it to see if we have done any, and we don't. We haven't.
So even
And
though we're
please don't tell me. What?
So even though we're improving the condition with.
Well, we
structure-
really love people to improve the condition. We really love people to pull out of the 25-foot no disturb zone. So we're thrilled that you're pulling out. But we don't want you to put it back in. So we haven't allowed anybody to put a building structure within the 25-foot no disturb zone. Patios, sometimes we allow, I think decks, sometimes we have allowed occasionally. But the building is something that we really haven't allowed, and we're not, I think, willing to start today. So
Sure,
I guess-
your lucky day.
Yes.
I guess that's my feeling on the matter. Did all commissioners have a chance to say something? I will, anybody in the audience have anything?
There
Is it-
are no hands raised.
And-
Excuse me, hello?
Yep.
Sorry,
Here we-
yeah. I mean, how much is it into the 25? Is it just a foot or less, or?
It's like 3 feet, maybe? It's
Well, the
just a
thing is-
triangle.
Yeah, if we
little
take a look at
triangle.
it, I don't know why we offset it from the side of the house. I think it's primarily because from one of the pictures that we could see, the it was
There's an opening.
shed, yeah, it was like a shed dormer type of thing that was not at the edge, it was at the edge of the house, so it's not actual a major portion of the house. I think that's why it looks offset, but it's really, I think the sunroom is something that sits right on the corner of the existing house.
Diane?
Yes.
I saw a dashed line that looked like it might be a zoning
me-
setback that the other corner of the deck
Let me-
touched. I think
again,
it might have been something to do with that on that side, to the right side.
Oh, yeah, there it is. You're right, Allison.
So I
Yeah,
mean,
but if you made it a little bit, instead of 10 feet, it became 8 feet or 7 feet and then got longer.
Or you could have cut the corners. You could
Or you
have it
could
be
just take that
cut the
triangle out,
corners, cut the corners.
Yeah,
which
I mean,
people have done.
because it's a sunroom, it's all glass, and once you start getting into cutting construction, unfortunately, it increases the cost substantially. So obviously, well, if it's something that the commission's not going to allow. Now, what if we, question for you, what if we were to be able to build this, putting the sonotubes outside of the 25?
So I guess we have had decks that cantilever over. I don't think that is, it's not up in the air, right? This.
Yeah, this will
sunroom?
be up in the air. I mean, you saw how much exposed foundation, this is gonna be up on the first floor. So we'll be 2 to 3 feet off the ground.
But it's solid building. It's not a deck. It's
Agreed.
building. Yeah, so I don't think so. It's the same thing. You have building in the 25. It doesn't change that fact.
Yeah, they're just not digging a foundation. There's no foundation involved. You're putting it on sonotubes. Similar to.
Make it less.
yeah, I mean, we are amenable to pulling back a foot or so, if that would be helpful.
Yeah, we could,
Well, you guys, I think I would talk to the in-town engineer or Tom Ryder or Mike Redsky about other ways to manage your sump pump runoff, because we appreciate that you need to do something with it. I don't know if the way you're proposing is the best way. And we would like to see some way of managing the roof runoff from this addition, which could be a small rain garden, which would be lovely. So, and that can be anywhere in there. So, and we would like to see the with no actual building in the 25-foot no disturb.
okay, we'll take a look at those things.
So nobody in the audience, any commission members have anything else to add on this? Would you like to continue to June 22nd or the hearing following that?
Why don't we do the 22nd, and then if we have some timeline delays, we'll ask for an extension.
Okay, and we can come and tell us what you found out from engineering if you like at that point, because we're curious on, and there might be a way for many of the properties there. I mean, because that pipe looked almost simple. It's like, oh gosh, you could just almost put an extension in. I wonder if some people have. And you're graciously here asking for permission. And I'm like, huh, almost looks like you could just put it right out. Okay, so we're looking for an extension for DP, continuation of DP file number 234907 to June 22nd, 2023 at 7 p.m.
Okay.
Can I have a motion?
So moved.
So moved.
One of you seconded?
Second too.
Thank you. All in favor, Peter,
Aye.
Allison,
Hi.
Dave,
Aye.
Sue,
Aye.
yeah, aye. Great, thank you very much. See you in a couple weeks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, 320 Grove Street, DEP file number, no file number yet. Is that true?
That is correct.
no
yeah.
file number yet. So we are able to open the hearing, have a discussion, but we cannot close the hearing this evening. So it's 320 Grove Street. This is a notice of intent. And it's Brian Nelson
That's correct. Thank
from
you. Yeah,
Metro
this is
West
Brian.
Engineering.
Sure. For the record, my name is Brian Nelson from Metro West Engineering. I think the applicants, Jessica Gelman and Corbin Petro, are out in the audience. So after I'm done with my presentation, they may want to add a few comments as well. So, but we're
Might be
here
able to
tonight.
pull them in. Maybe pull
Uh,
them in if you
yep.
can pull them in.
I think they're here right now. Is it okay if I share my screen?
Yes, it is.
All right, thank you. Okay. Hopefully everybody can see that. It says that
Yes.
screen sharing is in.
Yep.
So I'd like to start off with just a locus map. We're located in the northerly part of Needham, mostly in Needham, partially in Wellesley. This is Grove Street running basically from south to north. The Wellesley Needham town line kind of coming through in a northeasterly direction here. And our property, I'm going to zoom in just a little bit, but basically comes off through a right of way off of Grove Street in Wellesley, crosses the town line, and then the lot flares out as we get into Needham. The rear part of the property is mostly wet, and there is an intermittent stream channel that runs basically from southeast, kind of meanders northwesterly through the property and discharges into a head wall offsite in Wellesley. The lot has a unique shape. Zoom in a little bit so you can see that. Again, this is the right of way. Lot kind of flares out, kind of a hatchet shape here. And then it kind of continues in an easterly, southeasterly direction. But again, the rear part is really undevelopable due to, wetland resource areas. So the house is tucked into this little triangle right here, kind of about 150 or 200 feet or so off the sideline of Grove Street. And what I'm going to do is zoom in a little bit to a 20 scale plan. And again, this is oriented the same way. North is going straight up the page. Grove Street is located on the left side of this plan, running from south to north over here. And our site contains about 4.7 acres total. There's about 0.2 of an acre, which is that frontage and that right of way strip in off of Grove Street in Wellesley, but the rest of the property is entirely in Needham. And we are abutted by residential properties to the south and to the north as well. We're about 500 or so feet south of the intersection of Grove Street and Beard Way, which is a relatively new subdivision that also kind of straddles the Wellesley Needham line. And driveway comes in off of Grove Street. It's shown in gray, kind of centered in the right of way, comes in, crosses the town line, flares out a little bit, and then brings you up to the existing house, which is shown in brown. The existing house is here, and there's a deck out back. We've got a walkway around the southerly and easterly sides of the house. We've got some gravel and some patio areas out back. And for wetlands, we've got an intermittent channel, and that's shown in blue. And again,
So it's definitely not perennial?
that's correct. Yep.
Yeah, I
that
checked as
intermittent-
well, Janet.
The intermittent channel flows in a northwesterly direction through the property. And it enters a head wall here at a weird angle. And as I zoom over a little bit, the primary reason for our notice of intent tonight and the filing is the construction of a new house to really try to alleviate a chronic flooding condition that's occurred on this lot. And so part of that flooding is caused by this flow of the channel. It hits a head wall here. The pipe goes around the existing house located at 302 Grove. So it heads in a northerly direction, basically 45-degree bend. And then it takes a couple 90-degree turns before it crosses Grove Street and heads down towards Sabrina Lake. So we've got insufficient pipe conveyance capacity in here, which is definitely part of what's backing up this channel. And we've also got just, I think, an increased amount of runoff over the last few years. But we've also got some wetlands that adjoin that channel. And so we've got a wetland area kind of shown in this beige color, which is located northwest of the house. and another wetland area located southeast of the house. So we're kind of constrained on 3 sides by wetland resource areas. So the 25-foot no alteration zone or wetland buffer zone is shown in red. And I'm going to kind of follow that with my cursor around the perimeter of the wetlands, kind of cutting through the house and the deck and kind of taking a southerly bend. 50-foot buffer is wetland buffer zone, or 50-foot wetlands buffer zone is shown in magenta. And you can see the majority of the house is located within that substantial amount of impervious area for the driveway. And that runs here. And the 100-foot buffer zone extends even further out. And again, my cursor is following that. So you can see we've got a pretty significant amount of impervious coverage and developed lot within that, that 100-foot buffer zone. And I'd just like to highlight the setbacks, because this is kind of a weird envelope for a house. We've got a setback line for the northerly boundary here, setback line for the southerly boundary here, and then we've got the stream and the wetlands. So the house site for this lot is extremely constrained. And existing impervious area for the site is just over 10,000 square feet. Topography is basically highest around the house, and you can see the contours fall away pretty quick with about 5 or 6 feet of relief going away from the house in a northerly and southerly directions. And again, the existing house has been really subject to chronic flooding, where water has entered the basement on many occasions. Water has certainly come up and inundated the entire rear patio and terrace. We do have it shown on our plan that we had documented on February 18th, 2022, where this wetland area flooded and water level came up to about here. And I think the applicants can certainly attest to the fact that flooding has been chronic. It's historically been worse. And, you know, basically the house has sustained some heavy damage due to that chronic flooding. And what I'm going to do now is go to basically the same orientation. And what we're here for tonight for our notice of intent is to talk about the removal of the existing house, construction of a new house, which has basically been slid as far west and rotated in a clockwise direction, basically to pull it as far into the constriction of the lot, so to gain some separation from the channel. And again, the house is shown in brown. It has a larger footprint than the existing house. The driveway basically runs off of Grove Street, comes in, hits a garage opening right here. This driveway area is significantly smaller. We've got a walkway to a smaller terrace out back, also smaller than what's existing. Proposing a restoration area right now, especially in the back, we've got terrace and patio almost up to the bank of the stream. So what we're proposing to do is get as much kind of a restoration area in there as much as possible along the stream bank and then along the wetlands on the abutting property here. We do still have a small portion of the house up here and a small portion of the deck in the 25-foot no disturb zone. We do still have house which is partially located within the 50-foot buffer zone as well. But I would like to highlight some numbers, and we go up to this table up in the top right-hand corner. This is a table that we prepared just to show coverage within the resource areas. And so would just like to highlight for the 25-foot, or what I'll call the no disturb zone, an existing impervious coverage of 2276, proposed that reduces down to 350 square feet. So it's a 1,900 square foot reduction, which is about 85%. Also looking at 719 square foot reduction of impervious area within that 50-foot buffer zone, which is a 21% reduction. We do have a slight increase in the coverage in the 100-foot buffer zone. And there is overall there is a reduction in impervious area of about 1,500 square feet. So we feel like we're doing the best we can to kind of work within the confines of the lot, again, constrained by a setback along the northerly side, which this new house is basically hugging that northerly setback. And it's hugging the southerly setback here. And again, that house has been pulled as far south-southwest as possible and rotated. So the house floor elevation and foundation will be raised about 3 feet in comparison to the existing. And again, that's with the intent of trying to really make the house less flood prone as the site is frequently inundated by floodwaters. For stormwater, we have a proposed infiltration system, actually crosses over the town line, but we can kind of tuck it in off the northerly side of the driveway over here. And again, just trying to get a system in that will capture and infiltrate roof runoff, and not really kind of crowding the area out back. Again, trying to kind of keep that as far away from the 25 and 50 foot buffer zones respectively. So the project will provide a stormwater management system. The project will significantly reduce impervious area within that 25 foot and within the 50 foot buffer zones. And we feel that this house will allow the applicants to, to be able to live with a lot greater peace of mind in terms of being a little bit higher in elevation and away from that chronic flooding. And what I'd like to do just before I turn it over to Corbin is just to show you a couple pictures of that backyard flooding. And if everybody can see that, this is the deck of the existing house. The stream channel is right here, and you can see right here, that's the edge of the gravel terrace. And so you can see how much flood water comes up into that backyard. And this is another one, basically, again, where you can see the water level. You can see the terrace with about a half a foot to a foot of water over it. This is basically a photo and it shows basement flooding. You can see the basement basically is covered with water. And this has happened several times. And I'll let Corbin speak a little bit to that. This is Wellesley DPW. This is at the head wall on the adjacent property to the northwest, and you can see that head wall is underwater as well.
Is he standing in water?
He is, yes.
Up, like his legs are under.
He's got waders on, so he's up to his waist almost, yeah. And this is that same head wall basically on a no flow condition. So you can see the DPW worker was standing here, and that water was up, probably at this level. With that, I'm going to stop my screen share. I'd like to give Corbin the opportunity to kind of add thoughts and comments she might have, and then we'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. That was a very nicely done presentation. And I really appreciate the color drawing. Corbin, please state your name and address for the record.
Sure. Corbin Petro. I'm at 320 Grove Street in Needham. So my wife Jessica Gelman and I, who she's on as well. We've been here a little over 10 years, and we love living here. The backyard can be very, very beautiful. If you could see out the window behind me, but obviously the conditions with the wetlands have gotten progressively worse as there's been additional construction, poorly maintained pipes, and so our goal is really just to be able to stay here and to thrive with our two young sons who are at Newman Elementary School. So, obviously over time, as the basement continued to flood, every time it rains, it's a moment of panic where we're trying to figure out, certainly the Needham Police and the Wellesley Police and fire departments know who we are. They've come over many times as the backyard has flooded. So appreciate the consideration and happy to answer any questions about our time here.
Great, thank you. And does Jessica also, when I think I see her name now, does she need to speak, or is she just here?
She's at a work event, a last
Oh,
minute.
I think Jessica Gelman?
She's listening. Yeah, she's listening.
Oh, okay, but she's at a work event, so she's
Yeah,
just
she
listening.
may,
Okay.
she may chime in. She's never,
Okay.
she's typically not very shy, so she may.
Okay, so she can raise her hand if she'd like. So I have three quick questions before I hand it off to the commission members. When do you need to go to Wellesley because the infiltration chamber system is in Wellesley and it's within their buffer zone?
I think we may fall just under the thresholds for a filing. If we do, I think it'll just be an RDA.
Okay, that makes sense. And in your impervious area calculation, was the proposed patio considered impervious?
Yes,
And would you consider making that permeable pavers?
I think we could look at that, sure.
Okay. And I assume you're not going to be surprised when we tell you that we're not really interested in having you work within the 25-foot no disturb zone? Okay.
Yeah.
Just checking. Peter, you have, what would you like to comment on?
Well, that was gonna be my comment.
Yeah,
mean,
well, you can say it
I'm-
again.
Yeah. Please don't do new construction within the 25 no disturb zone. Yeah, I mean, it's unfortunate. I mean, it's just, it's wet back there. And I guess this building is an attempt to sort of rise above it rather than, because as you probably can tell, there's nothing you can do. Yeah, that's my comment.
Allison?
Mitigation, but I think it's 25 foot from the zone is a noble zone.
No build zone. Yeah. Is that, Dave?
Yeah, I guess I echo everybody else's comment about the construction in the 25-foot zone. And looking at the infiltration area, did you do a test pit or you're just assuming that you'll do it later? Just curious what the soils are like out there.
We have not done a test pit, and I actually really kind of thought about this one, that area is pretty pristine where we'd like to put the infiltration system. And I knew we were coming in here tonight with a proposal that, basically, I feel it's an improvement in the 25-foot no disturb, but it's also, it does involve work within some sensitive areas. So I wanted to see how our proposal went tonight. And I think we could schedule one, or I think what we could do is, the system's been conservatively sized, and I think what we could do is do a test pit prior to construction and modify it as needed.
Yeah.
Historically, soils in that area are okay for infiltration. They're not great, but I'm confident we can get something to work.
Sue?
Yeah, I my main thing is nothing in the 25-foot zone. It just keeps coming up, and I just feel we should, be consistent with it. And it's probably a stupid question, but I'm curious. A French drain would probably be worthless in a situation like that.
In terms of trying to prevent the flooding?
Yeah, with the basement.
Yeah, there's no place for the water to go. It's just, it backs up around the house. And it's risen to a level where it enters the basement through the door. And again, the intent with the new house is to pull that up a little bit, significantly by about 2.5 to 3 feet to provide a greater separation between that water level and the basement door.
Is any of this,
I sympathize with the flooding. I'm sorry.
is any of the lot in the flood zone
Any
It
of
is
the
not.
what?
of the lot of the
Oh,
property?
it's not in the floodplain, okay.
It's not in the floodplain. That's correct.
And do you need to remove any trees?
There would be actually, there's one ornamental tree in the front of the lot. And again, I can take a look real quick. I think it's either a dogwood or there's a honey locust up near the driveway that would need to be relocated. And then there's a dogwood out back that I think could be transplanted pretty easily. So it would be removal of one tree.
So we have a tree policy, but it looks like you have some significant plantings going on. So we would have 1 tree, 2 trees for every 1 tree you plan to remove. So I think you've already met that. I would like
Oh, go ahead.
the commission to give some direction because I saw you have patio, house and deck in the 25-foot no disturb zone. I think we're all pretty clear that we don't want to see any building within the 25-foot no disturb zone. We have in the past allowed patios if they're made with permeable pavers. So I'm curious what the how the commission feels about decks today. So, Corbin, Petra, you have a question?
Oh, I was
Andy?
just gonna make a comment on the French drain. A little
okay.
bit of a stale comment at this point, but
Sorry.
when the pictures that you saw of the water in the basement, it was in there. It was 6 inches for a week because as long as the backyard has water, there's no place to put the water. And so that's the whole impetus of lifting us up and forward is to just get ourselves farther away from the water. And then I obviously heard the previous the previous petition, and so heard the many comments on the 25-foot, and it sounds like that's even the case when we're obviously significantly improving our position within the 25-foot. It just
doesn't matter.
The
We appreciate that you are improving conditions within the 25-foot no disturb zone, but we really cannot say, all right, because as the last applicant, they had, maybe whatever it was, like 10 square feet, like it was pretty small. But we're pretty consistent on it. So we don't like to kind of change our protocol on that. But we have had various conversations on decks and when they're cantilevered and they're relatively, above the ground and there's slats and the water can go through them and what's kind of underneath those decks. So I don't know what I would kind of like to, I guess, understand what you're thinking your deck would look like and how high is it above the ground and what will be under it. And then the commission could kind of give you some direction on whether it's a type of deck that we would say, all right, that sounds reasonable, or if we really want you to pull the deck out as well. So you want to share some information about what this deck might look like?
Sure. And just to kind of back up for a second too, we do have in that restoration area, there are two trees proposed, and I think about a total of 75 or so shrubs as well. So I just wanted to kind of throw that out there because I didn't mention that earlier. But the deck will be basically a first floor deck, and our first floor is up at around elevation 175. So the deck, I'm assuming, would be either at that grade or a step down, so 174.5. Grade out behind the house is at about elevation 17 or 166. So it would be an elevated deck.
10 feet up. You're about 10 feet up.
Open below it, yeah. And then we could treat that with some stone or something like that to just provide a stable base for any rainfall that would trickle through the deck boards.
Okay. Dave, how are you feeling about the deck?
I'm okay with some of the deck being in the 25-foot zone. I know that our regulations allow an exception for that if it was like an existing structure. So I don't see fundamentally that there would be a difference there. So I would be amenable to granting an exception, provided that the support structure for the deck isn't overly intrusive. Now, others in the past have proposed like using helical piles or something of that nature to minimize the construction work.
That's a good point. Understanding what the structure is underneath the deck.
So I think that would be acceptable.
Peter?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, as long as the water runs through the deck and we can make it back. I don't see a problem. And I agree that patio, or at least the section that's within the 25, ought to be permeable.
Allison,
Same comment that others have had.
you're okay with the deck as, with it raised up and
Yeah.
a permeable
If it
patio?
could be, if it could be cantilevered, but I don't know.
And Sue,
The support structures, it would depend on the support structures going into the ground and what's underneath.
okay. Okay, so that gives you some direction. So we're gonna be interested in, I mean, do you know at the moment what the support structures would be for the deck, or do you want to come back and tell us that later?
I think it'd be best for us to kind of regroup and, you know, get a little bit more detail on that. I think the helical pile idea is a good one, just as it minimizes any work done. But, you know, also I would see it would probably just be 1 or 2 sonotubes that would be in that 25-foot no disturb zone. So we'll take a look at that and see, but we can certainly have an answer for that at the next meeting.
Okay. So that's you, so I think your direction is to basically any house that's within the 25-foot needs to be removed, understand the structure of the deck. And I think Sue's position was that it shouldn't be, no structure, no support should be within the 25-foot. So keeping that in mind when you regroup, and the patio should be permeable.
Mhm.
And you have the 2 trees for the 1 tree coming out.
Yes.
Anybody in the audience have anything to add?
There are
see-
no raised hands.
No, and I don't see any raised hands here either. Any commission members, anything else? Applicant, anything else? If you want to come back on June 22nd or the date after that?
No, I think we'd like to come back on the 22nd. And if for some reason that timing doesn't work, we can always request to continue out, but I'd rather come back in a couple of weeks if we could.
Great.
Janet, sorry to interrupt. We do have one raised hand now.
Okay.
I will move them over. They're listed as Clinton Harris.
Okay. I know. Clinton Harris, you have the floor. You're on mute at the moment, but if you unmute yourself, and please state your name and address for the record.
Yeah, my name's Clint Harris and we live next door. We're in 330 Needham and 316 Grove because we also have a split lot. This will be very brief. I went through the plans pretty carefully. I just want to make it clear we were totally supportive of them going ahead.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Is it your pipe? Is it your lawn that the drain pipe goes through?
I'm not sure which one you're talking about, but we have a drain pipe on the other side that goes through it, but on our side we do. And we had a deal with you 20 years ago when we redid our house. So I think we were in spec though. We stayed out of the 25-foot zone, but I did want to make it clear we probably are the most visible abutter to their property and we're very supportive.
Great. Thank you very much. Appreciate your comments. Okay, if we're no other comments, then we will take a motion to continue 320 Grove Street to June 22nd, 2023 at 7 p.m.
So moved.
You can have a second. Thank you, Sue. All in favor, Peter,
Aye.
Allison,
Aye.
Sue,
Aye.
Dave,
Aye.
Janet, aye. Great. Thank you very much. Appreciate you coming. See you in a couple weeks.
Thank you for your
we
time.
have-
Have a good night.
Thanks. Okay, 37 Mosley Avenue, DP file number 234896. This is a continued notice of intent. And you're back. Okay. So good to see you again. I really wanted to hear what the commission said for all of the other projects that were also impacting the 25-foot no disturb zone before we came back to you. So you would have some kind of an idea of where we're going. So, Karen, are you presenting?
Yes, I am. Well, I've been doing, I'll start it off. For the record, Karen Skinner Catroni, representing the owners of 37 Mosley Ave in Needham. I will make an attempt to put the plan up. Sometimes my laptop crashes, but I know I have Play as a backup, so. While I'm doing this, we've been before the commission several times for the tear down of a single family house and rebuild of a single family house.
It says Zoom.
Yeah. 1 second here.
That's what Diane did too for some reason. And so, you're looking closer. Look at all those files.
I know. Look at all that stress.
It's always interesting to see somebody else's system.
Why am I moving this? This shouldn't be moving.
Where are you
I do.
moving it to?
I don't know. Let's see. Okay. So revised. These are all the revisions we've had for this. Okay.
5/31/23. No, that's not it.
I think that is it.
Oh, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe
So
that is it.
this is the tree plan. This kind of shows the colored version of the different additions that are going to be added, and the plants and the description of how the trees will be handled. We've pretty much covered all of that. Can we see that? Can you guys see that?
It's not the whole screen. Maybe
Right.
can you make
Yep.
it the whole screen? Like
Right.
the square or whatever you do.
All right, here we go.
So I know this was one of the pieces. I kept kind of looking back through the plans. Did the tree plan get in the package? I
This
kept
is the tree.
forgetting to get
This
to
is the
that.
tree
I
plan.
know. And this was in our package, right? Everybody has seen this plan. I forgot to specifically look for this one.
So this was revised as a colored plan, and we had met with myself, Daniel, Mikhail, Janet, and Deb to discuss the calculations. There was some question about the calculations. Is everybody satisfied with that at this point?
I believe we are satisfied with the calculation.
Okay. So the other outstanding issue was the deck. So the deck within the 25, that's the only thing that we have now within the 25 foot. So,
So they proposing to construct a, what is it, 15 by 10 by 15, 10 by 15 deck. Is that right? 18?
yeah,
And so it's coming out of the, off of the 25 foot. It's within the 25 foot.
15 by
not disturbed
18.
zone.
so we have
Already, yeah.
we have discussed helical piers, so there'd be 2 helical piers within the 25. There'll be slots between, so water can flow through. We did propose some plantings underneath the deck, shade tolerance.
And the deck, is it going to be somewhere like 5 feet above the ground around the surface?
I believe we did discuss that. Daniel, feel free to chime in when you.
That all sounds
Yeah.
correct. Yes.
Okay, so those are really the only outstanding. Issue.
And just to make sure it's very clear, you have an existing house that's within the 25 foot no disturb zone that we are allowing you to keep within the 25 foot no disturb zone because you have said that is the intention. As the other project, they were fully removing their house as they explained to us. And so we're asking them to fully remove the house. They're fully removing the house totally outside of the 25 foot. We don't expect this foundation to come down. This foundation needs to stay there. It doesn't get to come down. You totally understand that. There is
Understood, yes.
no
Understood.
reason of a foundation. Because that's why you get this. Because like, make sure no one comes along and says, wait, they dug up a whole gigantic big hole and now they're pouring a new foundation. It doesn't work that way.
Correct. Understood.
And you were going to show a little bit more, like a photograph or something of the rain garden. we talked about the rain garden and what it was gonna look like. And it was going to have stones beneath the pipes, and there was going to be soil above the pipes that had compost and sand and loam, topsoil. Is this all correct? You have a
Yeah.
detail sheet?
Clay, do you have a picture of that? I don't have that picture.
I emailed all the photos directly to the Conservation Commission within the email,
And the detail sheet.
and the detail sheet was part of the plans, correct?
That was part of the package.
So what we're looking for is now part of, it's the soil detail on the plans.
Or, yeah, the plan that, yeah, the sheet that has the details.
It'll be sheet 6 of 9.
Got it.
So this is what the rain garden will look like now, for if there's anybody in the audience that is paying attention. There is stone beneath the rain garden. It's at the top of this page with the flowers coming out of it. There's stone below. Will be perforated 4-inch perforated pipes that also run through the whole thing to kind of divide up the water, like equalizing pipes. And then there'll be a compost topsoil mix that goes on top of the pipes and on top of the crushed stone, and the plants will be planted in there. And there was a planting guideline along the way. And the water from the house will go into the pipes and be dispersed through all the stone and feed the garden flowers, plants above it. So it becomes a rain garden. So we had requested a clearer detail that was understood, revising some numbers to make sure that all numbers went along and matched as they were supposed to. And they were also going to provide a photograph of what this rain garden might look like, because there's also some stones, right? Slight depression, drain towards yard, drain landscape with grasses, flowers, and shrubs. Are the green stones, or just there's some stones also going to be on top of this, I believe? Clay, do you see some photographs you could share?
Let me take a look. I apologize. There's a lot of materials to.
You actually did not send us the photographs. I mean, I did not, I never received the photographs. I just saw them in the office.
I think they were part of that, weren't they, Daniel?
I thought they were going to be, but looking at our package from June 8th, I do not have photographs in it.
Hmm.
But I thought that that was the idea, that they were sending them to you.
They were definitely part of that email that I sent. There was 2 photos included in the body of the email.
Yeah, I've got them here. Just a moment while I pull those up.
Ooh. So underneath there's gonna be pipes. There's gonna be stone, it's probably not, and there's gonna be soil. I don't think the detail doesn't quite look like this, but.
A lot of it has been done for decorative and aesthetic purposes with a lot of the boulders on top. That's not for the actual engineering of the garden system itself. It's just to make it look better. That's all.
And there's pipes underneath there that's feeding the plants. Is the idea.
That's
The rain
correct.
garden has a depression in it for water to kind of get held and then to kind of goes, is gonna, any overflow water will go off towards the wetland.
And how far is it from the neighbor on the right? The boundary, the property boundary of the neighbor on the right?
17.5 feet.
17.5. And any other questions, Peter,
No other questions.
Allison?
No.
Sue?
I still think the deck should be pulled back a bit, but I go with the consensus.
Dave?
Oh, I got one comment on the rain garden. I'd like to see a inspection port in the rain garden. It's the lower part of the rain garden is an infiltration chamber. And if it ever gets plugged up, there should be a inspection or to look at it periodically.
We can add that to the plan.
Yeah,
We can add that to the plan, Dave.
Excuse me?
Yeah.
We can add that to the
still
plan,
add that.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying that's, pretty standard practice, and then, there would be a, operation and maintenance protocol that you could submit later that would say you inspect it, several times a year. That's pretty standard procedure. Otherwise, I think it's great. The other question I have is, you're taking down, and you may have discussed this at one of the meetings I missed, but you're taking down 11 trees, and I didn't do a count of what you're replacing, but I'm assuming that it matches what our guidelines are, two trees or 4 shrubs.
Because a lot of those trees, Dave, were requested to be removed by the neighbors.
Yeah.
We don't
There's-
need to remove them.
Okay.
So the trees that we needed to remove, we replaced.
If they're in the 100-foot buffer zone, it doesn't matter who's who asked.
Well, they still are within the buffer zone, but the neighbors specifically asked because they were in their wires, so. Yeah, so I don't think we should require as many replacements on those.
Yeah, that's fine. My other question is, it seems like all the plantings are compressed in one strip by the road. Wouldn't it make sense to spread them out a little bit? I mean, and if they were a native species, they could be planted in the 25-foot or 50-foot zone.
They are all native.
Yeah.
And they are within the 25-foot zone.
Yeah, I mean, wouldn't that make better sense? Or, I'm not a biologist here, but it just seems they're all bunched together in one small section of the lot.
Well, there's not a lot of work because they can't put them in the wetlands.
But they can put them in the 25-foot.
And they can put them in the 25-foot, but they put them in the 25-foot that wasn't as thickly wooded, because the other side of like the rain garden has a lot of trees in it.
Yeah. Anyway, it's just a comment.
Okay. So Peter, and did I get everybody? Anybody in the audience?
There are 2 hands raised. I'll move the first person over. They listed as Susan.
Susan, you're on mute at the moment, but when you're ready, you have the floor. Please state your name and address for the record.
Yes, hi. I'm Susan Fonseca, property owner at 11 Mosley Avenue. First, I want to thank you for your advocacy with the wetlands. I appreciate the strong stance you guys have taken to protect the land. My question is about the deck. First, it looks like the size of the deck varies from page to page on these plans. On pages 7 and 9, the deck looks like it's much larger compared to the other pages where the outline is indicated in black. But regardless of which page you look at, the 15 by 18 foot deck is almost entirely inside the 25 no disturb zone. The deck is much larger than the other projects discussed earlier on this call, and the intrusion into the wetlands is far greater. I wonder if you would consider asking for a smaller deck. A deck that's cantilevered without pilings is the best option. And this prevents scarring the land and would allow the natural ground cover that currently exists to remain. It would also preserve tree number 7 that I've advocated before in previous calls. This is a healthy 50-foot tree inside the buffer zone. It's targeted for removal only because of the deck. It would be a shame to uproot it, especially if an alternative can be found. As a final thought, I do worry that allowing any construction inside the 25 buffer is a slippery slope. There are currently only a sliver of the existing house inside the 25. To add this deck would more than double the intrusion into the wetlands. Last we met, the plan called for 3 pilings. They now say it's 2. This may change again. If it increases to 4, would that be okay? Is 5 okay? Where do you draw the line? As we heard tonight, there are property owners with less intrusive requests inside 25. I really admire the work you guys do to protect the wetlands, and I hope you continue to send the message that do not disturb zone really means do not disturb. Thanks for listening and for being strong advocates for the land.
Thank you. And just to clarify, the deck on page 7 and 9 is the 15-foot by 18-foot deck size. The black square on the other ones that does look smaller is not. There's like another, there's a green line, like whatever, I'm on sheet 5, I guess, is a green line. That's kind of the deck on that one, and the black square is interior somehow. But the black square is a little bit confusing.
It's very confusing. It's on every other page except for, it's on almost all the pages except for those last 2. Anyway, it's confusing, as are the plans, and have continued to be confusing over the many months we've talked about it.
Yeah, and actually the orange one on the page 3 is smaller.
Yes.
Huh.
And seems to well clear tree number 7.
Yeah, it's a shorter deck.
Anyway.
And tree number 7 is a Norway maple that we have had discussions about in the past. So
Yeah, it is determined to be a healthy tree, and an 18 by 15 deck, I think, is excessive.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Clay, you said there's some, and there's a second hand.
There's another hand. They're listed as Anna Kerr. I will move them over.
Anna Kerr, you are on mute at the moment, but when you're ready to unmute yourself, you have the floor. I see you. I just don't hear you.
Yes, good evening, Chair and Commission members. Anna Kerr, Mosley Avenue, abutter. One quick point of clarification about the trees. It was me who had mentioned tree 8 and 9, and my comment was not to remove them. I just want to make clear that for the record. My comment was that the trees there was a potential safety hazard because the power lines are intertwining with the branches. So a very easy maintenance plan of trimming the branches would take care of it. We do not need to take down the trees. So please, I just want to make that very clear for the commission that it was not a request to bring down those trees. They're healthy. They provide a lot of shade that I've enjoyed for many years. All I want is to just make sure that the branches are maintained for power lines that are going through them. That's it.
Oh, that was helpful. So, but just to be also, I think, fair to everybody on the call, that this applicant could do some pruning if, of those trees if desired, but that doesn't mean that they will be pruned forever. So I just wanna.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. My
Just
concern
to-
was that it was been said several times that because of the abutters request to bring down
Yes,
those trees, that is not true at all. I've never said
Yeah.
that.
I thought that's, actually, I thought that's what I heard when I was out in the field, that you guys were interested in having those trees removed. So if you're not interested in having them removed, they don't
No.
remove them.
It's more a matter of just trimming the branches for the purposes of maintaining the power line. And I don't know if it's a matter of the applicant or the town or the Eversource. I don't know. That's maybe something that we can follow up on, but we don't need to bring down the
Right.
tree.
Okay, well, that's good to hear, because I had heard that the neighbors were interested in having those trees, number 8 and 9, removed. And it was because of the power lines, but my guess is if the applicant does not, they're not asking to remove them for any other reason except for doing a gesture to the abutters. So if you don't want them removed.
No, yes.
I assume that is correct, Daniel?
Yeah, no problem. We can trim tree 8, tree 9, we do need to remove based on the arborist report though.
Tree 9 gets removed anyway? But tree 8.
That's
is that what
correct.
you said? Okay. So the arborist has mentioned that tree 9 is unhealthy. The tree 8 could remain. Okay, anybody else in the audience?
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I'm sorry, and I didn't mean to cut you off. You're done.
Yeah, no, thank you. Thank you for your time and advocacy.
Thank you. Anybody else?
There's
okay,
one more hand.
Okay,
Nancy Smith, I will move them over.
Nancy, we've been waiting for you.
I hope you mean that sincerely.
Sincerely, I couldn't believe that you didn't have your hand up.
Well, I thought I'd go last to give you a little bit of a break. I have a couple of questions. I have a point of clarification first. In looking over what was put in the Dropbox for this meeting, there was the April 4th letter that I think we well disposed of. The mitigation, they wanted the garage to be mitigated in the 25-foot. I think, is this erroneously submitted?
Easily, we got a repeat package. I thought there was a repeat letter in there.
Because I can go through it all again if you want.
Well, you're talking about the April 4th, the mitigation plan. It's dated April 4th. We've already discussed it. It was just to talk about the different trees that were being proposed to be in there, but it.
And also mitigating the shed and the garage for the 20 zone.
They've already taken that shed off of the area because I said they couldn't include the shed as impervious area.
So can we say that this has been well and truly
Yes.
put to bed? Perfect.
Mhm.
Other point of clarification on the plans, the part in the front, and forgive me if we went through this the last time, I couldn't read my handwriting. The porch on the front of the house that is parallel to Mosley is referred to as a porch. How is it different from the 2 additions on that side?
Deanna, do you want to take this?
Yeah.
Nancy, can you restate your question, please?
How
Certainly.
is the porch different from the other 2 additions? Is it a screened in porch? Is it a closed off porch? Is it big windows?
The porch is not different than the other additions. It's just an area of the previous porch. It was easier to demarcate as such.
Oh, so it will look just like, it will look like a part of a house. It's
That's
not
correct.
a separate, like a screened in porch. Okay.
And full basement, the whole 9 yards.
As much as the water will allow us to do.
What does the water mean?
It means that we have a pretty high water table, as I'm sure you understand, Nancy. So we
Oh,
can only
really?
go so far in terms of making a full basement.
Okay. Question just in general, are there limits to the extent that there can be building in the 50 and 100? For example, can you only double it? Can you quadruple it? Can you do 10 times the amount? In the existing 50 and 100, it's being increased by 55% and 80%. And I didn't know if there was like a formula, like you can't.
This is not really a formula. We basically they're in the jurisdiction because they're within 100 feet.
Okay.
So the 50 and 100 is a little bit more of a relaxed area. And then the 25 to the 50 is something we are paying more attention to as far as wildlife and woods. But then the 25 is really to 25 to 0 is our no disturb zone. So but greater than 50, Mass DEP has kind of said, let people be realistic, but let them kind of.
And your discretion goes, got it. Lastly, just for my own, just to sort of put it out there, I calculated with all of the additions, how many cubic yards of the wetlands are going to be removed with the various additions, rain garden, garage, etc. And it's
So the wetlands shouldn't be being removed at all.
It's in the 20. Oh, I see what you're saying. I think I misspoke. Within the buffer zones. So within the that all of that proposed work is within the 100. So 230, more than 230 cubic yards of our wetlands or earth is being removed from that home or that land to build this home. And I was trying to put it into perspective just for myself, and a cubic yard, they liken to be the size of a washing machine, like today's washing machine.
3 by 3, yep.
232 cubic yards. I'm stunned. I just wanted to just sort of say that out loud so I could just sort of release it into the ether and hopefully let it go. I do trust that you are the good stewards of this property and all the properties around here. I'm still a little bit shocked by it. However, I want to reiterate that deck, really, if you could consider it to be smaller to save T7, that would go a long way. And I think that I'm going to finish. Those are my comments.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, commission members, we'll go back to the deck after hearing from some of the residents. And does anybody, as well as from Sue's opinion, my opinion is also it would be nice to contain the deck to the edge of the existing house. But I am willing, as Sue is, to go with the majority of the commission's opinions. So what have I done with you, all of you people, like who have gone away? Oh, there you are. I covered you up for a second there. So and the other question is, and so we want to make sure when we do put an order of conditions together that tree 8 does not need to be removed. It is allowed to be pruned if so desired by the applicant. I think the Eversource or Verizon or whoever owns the poles may do some of their own pruning, but the applicant is allowed to prune that tree if desired. Tree T9 is still being removed according to the applicant, as their arborist has recommended. And then depending on our opinion on the deck, whether T7, which is a Norway maple, should be allowed to be removed, or do we want to encourage the applicant to keep that tree? Allison, I'll let you weigh in on this.
Well, I'm not in love with Norway maples, but they do provide shade and habitat. So I think there's value in trying to preserve it. And I mean, the deck, making it smaller, I mean, I think it would be nice if it was smaller. But I think that I'd like to hear what other people think.
Peter?
Yeah, so one of the abutters mentioned that on the plan, the deck was actually different sizes, or was that
Yeah,
just sort of
looking back at the plans, there's one particular that's obvious, the one that is sheet 3 in the PDF. Well, sheet 1 in the PDF, you can see a black square and a green square. And sheet 3 of the PDF, there's an orange square that is within the black square, and it is smaller than the green square. Sometimes it's a black and a green square, and sometimes.
Right. Right. So I mean, I guess on the plan, there's been some confusion about exactly. I mean, unless you're constantly just looking at the first page, there's some confusion about exactly how big this is planned to go. I mean, I kind of agree that. I mean, and I've said before that I didn't care that much, but pulling back is not a terrible idea to the. I mean, particularly if it stays within the bounds of what the original house was.
Stays within, I'm sorry, stays
yeah,
within what?
It stays within the footprint of the original. I mean, is that what you're saying? That it sort of is consistent?
Yeah,
with what
like
we said
there's
before?
the existing house pops out, has a little pop out, and to kind of line it up with that is what I was kind of envisioning as being an acceptable.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a good compromise. And that would save that Norway maple, or would that still need to come down?
I think that would save that Norway maple because the helical piles would not be really impacting it, and
Yeah, I mean,
either
I
with
think
the
that's
deck.
I think that's another good reason for pulling it back.
Dave?
I'm okay with the deck as it was proposed. I just point out that on several of the drawings, the deck is dimensioned with numbers. And a general rule of thumb on reading engineering drawings is you look at the numbers and not the shapes. And so whatever the
Well,
deck. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I mean, it says it's a 15. It says it's a 15 by 18 foot deck.
Right, so that should
But
be
sometimes it hits the tree and sometimes it doesn't.
right, but I think, from any, engineering interpretation, it would be what's dimensioned on the drawing. So my point is, whatever the final decision is, the dimension of the deck should be shown on the drawing. Shouldn't be scaled. But I don't think it makes much difference the size of the deck. I don't think the impact is that great. I don't know. There's a lot of trees out there saving a Norway maple. I don't think it's of that much value.
So you have one more plug?
Are you talking to me?
Yes.
Yeah, I have two things. Actually, yes, I would, it's 15 by 18, and I see no reason why it can't be pulled back. And my other concern is there any way of having an extra berm along Nancy's property line?
Well, right now, her property line, it's,
Is it in our jurisdiction?
it's within our jurisdiction. Yeah, the whole property is within the 100 foot buffer. They're gonna have a driveway, and I think there could be a small berm between the driveway and the property line. And because they will be raising up the house, but I think the driveway and the rain garden, and any land area that's not a house stays at the existing grade, because they don't show any proposed grading on the plan, so there should be no, like, the driveway should basically be exactly the same grade as the existing driveway. And the rain garden should be the same grade as the existing surface right there. It's not being, like, you're not gonna see fill land, you're just gonna see probably a higher house. The house will be higher and the foundation will be more visible than the existing foundation. I'm trying to get it out.
Placement is taking place with the amount of the additions.
What was taking place? What did you say?
Placement is taking place,
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't have a problem with the berm. I mean, a small berm along the edge of the driveway between the properties to make sure that no water goes in that
Yeah.
direction.
It's not a big deal, right?
It's not a big deal. And
We could do a
I
berm,
assume-
it's not a big deal.
I assume that, yeah, that's fine. We can include that. Okay, so, I guess I think the commission can, I don't know, do we need any more information, I guess, is one question that we cannot include in an order of conditions. I would kind of like this project personally to be done. And we can, as a commission, we can say how big we allow that deck to be. So we can include that in our order of conditions, as they do kind of show it. They have a measurement on their plan and they show it slightly differently than that. But
what are there right now where the deck would go over? What plants are there?
But plants?
Yeah, what does it look like now? I know I did go out to
Kind
visit
of,
with you.
when we looked at it, it was kind of, I mean, maybe Clay can bring up a picture. How easy is it for you to find a photograph? He has a scary face. He doesn't think he's gonna find one.
I believe it's not going over anything. All of the area there is already currently
Yeah.
disturbed. It's the area between the house and the shed there, which has been basically like trampled and gone
Kind
over
of
many,
just
many times.
leaves and
That's what I
and
remember.
stuff.
I
It's
remember
not
that.
lawn. It's
Yeah.
more just like
Dirt.
underground, undergrowth, like leaves, like wooded area.
Yeah.
And it's definitely not lawn. And it's not gonna be lawn, they're just leaving it all the way it
Right.
kind of is, besides adding more trees on one section. And a rain garden on the other side.
Okay. Done.
Okay, so we can vote on that. I guess we could vote on that if we are ready to close the hearing, we can vote on it when we issue the order of conditions. We can determine how big we want that deck to be. If that's okay with others. Does anybody have an opinion on that? Do we need the applicant to provide any more information? It seems like if we choose to protect tree 8, the applicant is fine with that. If we choose to protect trees 7, I guess the applicant would like to have a larger deck, which would mean tree 7 would go away, but the commission may vote to have a smaller deck and then maybe tree 7 can stay. I don't know
What if
the
the
applicant-
what if the deck was angled so tree 7 could stay? So it went diagonally to miss that tree.
Because it's gonna be on helical pile, so it's not gonna hurt the roots of the tree. Well, that's. So is, are you, is Daniel, I guess, are you okay with saving tree 7 if that's what the commission feels would be appropriate?
Yes, Janet, I am.
Okay. So with those things in mind, those are kind of things that we can put in the order of conditions. Do we need any more information from the applicant? And are we ready to close this hearing? And at the next hearing, we would issue an order of conditions. I assume there's not one ready at this. If we're ready to close, I'll accept a motion to close the hearing.
So moved.
I'll take a second.
Second.
All in favor, Allison,
Aye.
Sue,
Aye.
Dave,
Aye.
Peter.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, you're closed. We'll give you an order of conditions in a couple of weeks.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank
Have a good
you.
night.
Thank you. Have a
Have
good
a
night.
lovely evening.
Okay, so now we're up to other business. Should we take, does it matter which one we take first? I just like, if there's people in the audience, it'd be nice to,
Mary Trudeau is here, John Rockwood is here. You can hold off on Greendale.
okay, so 6 Sunset Road, DP file number 2345667. This is a certificate of compliance discussion.
Good evening. My name is Mary Trudeau, and I'm representing the Silvermans, who are the current owners of 6 Sunset Road. This is a project that began about 13 years ago, so I have to say my recollection is less than perfect. But this project at the time involved separating out a lot from an existing single-family home. Mr. Cavallo had an existing home and had used both lots for his property, and at some point decided to separate out number 6 and try and develop it. So we filed a notice of intent for this property, and the lot was in 2 very different conditions. The top of the lot where the house was ending up going was actually wooded and in a fairly natural condition, as best I recall, and that seems to match with Debbie's notes that trees were taken down to allow for the construction of the new home. The lower part of the site, which is within 100 feet of the Rosemary Brook, and also has sections of 0 to 25 foot buffer and 0 to 50 foot buffer zone in it, at the time looked very much like a water park or a miniature golf course. That Mr. Cavallo had a series of features that he had built into the wetland area. He had little bridges, he had elves and gnomes. It was kind of like a woodland garden. I don't have a really great way to describe it other than saying that it wasn't that far from a miniature golf course, except that he didn't golf. He just used it as landscaping.
And there,
So
a
when-
fairy woodland would have been very nice. A
Yeah.
nice image. I'm picturing a fairy woodland compared to a miniature.
A fairy, yeah, well, okay, we'll say fairy woodland. There were gnomes. There definitely were gnomes at the time. There were mushrooms and lots of little statuaries, but a lot of that has been gone. As part of the order of conditions, the applicant had agreed to plant 84 shrubs within the winter or the wetland wonderland area. And this was supposed to be a riverfront restoration area as well as restoration of the 0 to 25 foot buffer zone. And it was approximately about, I think it's about a 3,000 square foot area that this was supposed to occur in. Since that time, there has been no activity in the restoration area. No one has gone in there. It's been allowed to grow up in a fairly naturalized condition. Debbie and I have some disagreement about whether planting was done. There certainly were never 84 shrubs planted in that area. I do believe that there was some planting of wetlands vegetation in this zone. Some of it is successfully survived. Much more of it is there apparent as stump growth, you know, that the upper portions of the shrubs died, and then you'll find very small viburnums or silky dogwood in the lower portions of the plant. But in any case, there are very few mature shrubs that would have been installed at this point in time. There's probably 3 white pines that were done 13 years ago, and maybe 10 to 12 shrubs that, you know, arguably
Out of
are-
84.
out of 84. So we get to the problem that we have now, which is that the property has changed hands a couple times. And we now have the Silvermans living there, and they have this outstanding order of conditions on the property. So I had looked at it for the Homs, who were the owners before this, and I had gone in and counted every single small shrub that I could find, every large shrub that I could find, looked for evidence of planting, and given them a report that basically said, you've got a lot of things growing here. I think this meets the intent of the order of conditions. This is problematic because your agent felt very differently when she went out and looked at it. So I came back to this project with the Silvermans now, and we're trying to figure out something that is reasonable for this lot. I've given them a couple of options that I said I wanted to run by you before we spend much time thinking where we're gonna go with this. And part of our problem is that 13 years has changed the character of this area fairly dramatically. I mean, it no longer looks like a wetland wonderland. It has quite a bit of native vegetation. It has a large community of small black cherry. It has a large community of buckthorn. There's a bunch of native shrubs in there, and the canopy is thicker than it was 13 years ago. To plant 84 shrubs in there right now literally is not possible. The openings don't exist for it. The competition with the existing plants would be problematic. It's just not a reasonable scenario any longer. So one of the options that I talked to the Silvermans about was coming up with a number of shrubs that would realistically compete well in this area, you know, that it's something less, and I think it's considerably less than 84 because there's just a lot of natural plants growing there, and I can't see pulling a little black cherry out to put in a shrub that's been grown in a container somewhere else. Do you know that there's some vegetation there that I think should be encouraged? So that's one of our options, is to work with either Debbie or someone from the commission to come up with a landscaping plan that, you know, goes towards maybe increasing the diversity of this riverfront area.
Is
The
it
second
wet?
option, what?
Is it wet or is it just an upland riverfront area?
It's both. There's a lower area that could take some wetland plants, but for the most part, it's upland. It's
Okay.
drier than you would expect. And that's a whole nother issue. The plant list that we had is probably inappropriate because it's drier than it
Okay.
was. Okay, the second option that I gave them, which in some ways is more attractive in terms of the health of the riverfront area, would be that we would go in and cull all of the buckthorn that has come up and create more openings in this riverfront area that would allow hopefully the native plants that are there to take better root and to better compete in this area. That right now, buckthorn is doing pretty well. I'm gonna say it's the dominant shrub, but that doesn't mean that it's 100% buckthorn throughout. There's just a lot of buckthorn in the area, but it's a manageable amount because it's a relatively small area. That if you would take out all of the buckthorn now, I think it would help some of the native materials better compete, and things like the black cherries and the little white pines that are coming in would do better. So that was my second option that I gave to them. And we really just wanted to talk to the commission and see, would either option be acceptable to you? Is there a third option that you feel would better represent your interests? But we'd like to, at some point, close out this certificate of compliance.
Yeah, thank you. I'm gonna pass off to the commission, but I almost think it's a combination of the two. I like the idea of getting rid of the buckthorn and then planting something to get reestablished in the riverfront area, that is an appropriate plant species, but I'm not exactly sure of the process, so I don't know if we are allowed to modify or amend the order that's out
No,
there.
it's-
If it's
it's
expired.
well expired.
So,
I was kind of hoping an enforcement action would be issued
oh, okay.
because
you
that
reviewed
saves them
before
the
that?
permit costs, that they wouldn't have to pay me to permit this, that they could spend the money on plants.
Okay, well, okay, let's see what the commission says. So, Peter, what do you think? You
Yeah.
have
Yeah,
an opinion on any of this?
Yeah, if an enforcement order works, that sounds right.
And what do
Can-
you think about new plants, removing buckthorn, or a combination of the two?
Yeah, no, I believe them when they say that you can't find it. And I'm
84
sorry, I
shrubs.
might have missed the context. Why did they have to plant 83 shrubs in there?
Because
They
it was
They
altered.
removed, I think, like 13 or 17 trees or something, and then they
Got it. So this is
also
mitigation
removed-
and then,
and they had removed trees as well in that area.
okay, so this is tree removal. And then they were gonna
Mitigation.
just do shrubs, instead
That's
of,
what they proposed. They proposed
and they never
white
did.
pine trees and shrubs.
And as far as you can tell, they never did.
Well, they did some. They did, like, there's several white pines that were clearly imported. There's, a handful of shrubs that are the right size for a 13-year-old plant. There's some speckled alder, which is not native to the site. There's some silky dogwood. There's some large high bush. I mean, there were a few things that were put in, but they weren't necessarily in accordance with the
Yeah.
plan.
They weren't in the right location. They were
Oh, man.
more in the wetlands than
Ugh.
restoration
Yeah.
area.
I mean, at a minimum, that buckthorn needs to go because, yeah, that's what happens when you don't have trees there. So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, does enforcement seem to you, Deb, to be the sort of the way to go on this?
Well, I mean, of course, we, don't want to put the burden of having to file, when they're doing mitigation. My only question is, we're going to require 2 years of monitoring, I would assume.
And so you want a actual plan and all the rest.
Well, just
Well,
how
maybe we can do that.
require, how do we require that under an enforcement and keep track of it
Mhm.
like we would an order? And I mean, they're not gonna be able to close this out now anyways, right? Because you're gonna require monitoring, I would assume.
Mhm.
Right, we need to monitor something. So we can't issue a certificate of compliance. Are you, is the homeowners, I see you there, you can hear us. Are you not looking to sell or anything? You're just looking to close this out? Okay, so we have a little bit of time to work through this. Right.
Yeah,
we
and
have a
we
little
argue-
time to-
We can't plant until September anyways now because it's hot. Do you know? And if we were gonna do invasives control, probably the fall is a better time when the plants are starting to, send messages down to their roots. So we're not, it's not the rush to do it. It's just that we want to have a plan in place for September.
Okay, great. Dave, you have an opinion?
I'd go for whatever takes the least amount of paperwork and ask,
Least amount of paperwork.
it sounds like the owners want to do something, and, we should.
Yeah.
let them in an expeditious way.
And the other part of this is the conservation restriction. If you guys remember the
Oh.
conversation about expanding that, or when Artie Rappy was here talking about this a couple months ago.
Yeah, I kind of forget that story. So where does that leave us?
I think we're still waiting for a conservation restriction to approve.
And who's creating that? Is Artie creating the conservation restriction? That's just part of
But
the
but
application.
Artie works for the town now, so he's not involved in this at all anymore.
Mary,
So,
you created the conservation restriction?
I don't know anything about the conservation restriction.
yeah,
we'd have
it's part of the
to-
order.
The order of conditions that had the 84 plants also required a conservation restriction.
Right,
So-
one of the plans shows it. I have to go back in my notes, but the commission was looking to, I think, expand it to the river, perhaps.
So there's
Yeah.
an existing one and we were looking to extend it.
Well, it was supposed to be part of the COC, but what was proposed, the commission wanted to expand it to the riverfront, to the river, I believe.
The parcel of land that this restoration is occurring on is not functionally part of the number 6 Sunset Road's yard area. You know, this is one reason it might be a good idea to have like someone from the commission come out and look just to see that the yard area is fenced and it's separated by height from this low-lying area that has the restoration. It's not really usable for anything other than planting.
Okay, but that's what the conservation restriction would do. It would keep it
Sure.
not being used.
Yeah, and and if you go out there, it hasn't been used. It's just sitting there.
It just wasn't planted well originally, but it wasn't like turned into a lawn.
Not at all. It's quite a bit more naturalized than it was 13 years ago. You know, it doesn't have the water features anymore, but it doesn't have the planted materials that were required in the order, and how many of them are needed to make it, you know, completely restored, you know, that's debatable.
So if we were to do, I guess I'll have Sue and Allison chime in, but I'm just thinking if we were doing an enforcement order, what would that look like to us? But first, Sue, do you have any questions at this stage?
I would agree with the enforcement order and to go the simplest way possible.
Simplest way possible. I'm
Yep.
kind of into simple too. I kind of agree with that. Allison?
Yeah, without knowing, too much about it, I think that the removal of the buckthorn might be very simple. To release some of the other surrounding vegetation, if in fact it does exist. That appeals to me.
Yeah.
If it, in terms of planting a whole bunch of plants that you can't really fit in there, it's just so changed that that would have to take a bit of time and thought, and it won't look like the original order. So,
Right. I think we've moved beyond that because
We also, I did send Clay some photos from.
yeah.
I remember
But
seeing
in
some
terms of the
photos.
enforcement order, I mean, that's, I guess that's the simplest thing to do, but
Yeah.
I like the idea of removing the buckthorn. I just like that
So
idea.
we would, in theory, and anybody jump in with this, because I don't really know what I'm talking about. We would issue an enforcement order that would say.
We
need
could
to
tell you
remove
what
the
it would say.
buckthorn.
We
Oh,
could
good.
give you a plan that would say what it would say. Like I
Okay.
could give you a plan that say, we would like to remove the buckthorn. This is the way that we're gonna handle it. This is what we're gonna do. And then you could order us to implement that plan. That seems
Okay.
like that would be the simplest.
And in that plan, can you say that you will be monitoring it for 2
Yes.
years?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, and there's one other thing I was gonna bring up earlier and I meant to, and it's just that if this house and lot were being developed now with the existing condition in that riverfront area, I don't think you would have allowed us to offer riverfront area restoration as mitigation, because before it was clearly a damaged and utilized by people kind of riverfront area, and now it is not. Do you know that? So I think that doing something to improve the health of it is good, because that's something that in 2023 makes sense for this particular property. That if we can control the buckthorn and encourage the native plants to grow, and some of the existing trees and shrubs will just do better with the openings and the air provided. But the 84 shrubs just doesn't work anymore.
Yeah, well, and I can appreciate not having to put in 84 shrubs, and
I don't know, I find the area pretty bare.
But I.
There is some ground cover of shrubs, but
Could do something though. I mean, I think that they need some, the moving of the buckthorn and coming up with a planting plan that makes sense that we can require enforcement of. I think,
and then just don't issue the COC for 2 years.
right, then we can't issue the certificate of compliance until it's, I mean, we could do a partial once it's all replanted. And then, no, we don't issue a partial until it's,
Not for the plants, no.
oh, because.
I
it's-
don't think that's an issue because these homeowners have just moved in and they like the house. They just want a clear title.
Good. We like a clear title. All about that. Okay, so the things that have to happen, you will come up with a plan that will include removing buckthorn. It will include some plantings, maybe not 84 shrubs, but something that will restore that area to a riverfront oasis. And look into the conservation restriction, whatever that entails.
Yeah, that I think we'll have to go back to, an attorney. I really don't
Yeah.
recall.
And Deb might be able to find some of that information for you in the old folder files.
Yeah.
And then bringing in an attorney to help put that together and create it and write it and maybe I don't know anything about it.
Yeah, well, that's the second step. Right now, I would love to just come to an agreement that we will give you a plan, you can approve it, and then if you like it, you can write an enforcement order ordering these people to do this.
Yes, I think I heard the commission all say we wanted to do it as simple as possible, and that sounds like the most simple.
Okay,
As long as we get to monitor it for 2 years.
yeah, sure.
Great, awesome. All right, you'll come back
Thank
someday?
Okay, thanks so much.
Thank you. Good to see you.
Goodbye.
All right, thank you very much. Okay, so that was 6 Sunset and 112 Edgewater Drive. Is that the one that John Rockwood is here for?
Yes, I am. Sort
Okay,
of deja vu all over again. It's a very similar story to the previous one. Ronald Schaefer is the property owner. He's also on the call. Basically, an order of conditions was issued in 2008. An amended order was issued in 2009. Both orders required some mitigation plantings on the property. The plantings were conducted and they're actually shown on a plan. I can put that plan up for you. I can share the screen, 1 second.
Is there a chance as you're talking and you're getting that up, is there a chance that the plants that were planted 13 years ago were eaten by deer and stuff?
It's entirely possible that plants were eaten by deer.
Anyway, I'm just thinking as you're pulling something up. Okay.
Yeah. Let's do this one. Oh, this one. Do you see the plan?
Yes.
Okay. Basically, all those little identified things with labels next to them on the plan were the plants that were planted. The ones that have orange circles around them still exist and are in good or better condition. So what it
Okay.
comes down to is, let's see, the order required 39 plantings and the amended order required 21. And basically not that many are still out there. It's it's about half of that number. So what we've done is we've proposed to essentially provide the missing plants in a slightly different area on the property. A lot of the plantings were done in this area. And they're mostly upland plants. And the problem is that area gets a little bit wet. It's not identified as a wetland, but there's nothing else growing there. So that indicates to me that it's too wet for materials to grow there for some reason. So what we'd like to do is there's an area back here that may or may not be a vernal pool. Remember, we were discussing this when we were doing the property next door. There's some spring peepers back there. I saw a green frog in it when I was there, but I really didn't survey it. And this whole front of this ponding area is essentially open to a maintained grass lawn area. what we'd like to do is put the plants along, the wooded line comes down through these rhododendrons down to about here. So this area is sort of wooded. What we'd like to do is provide a vegetative buffer in close proximity to the pool to provide a vegetative buffer to protect that from, further encroachment or whatever through time.
So what's the 20-foot wide temporary construction easement?
That was obviously associated with when the MDC put the sewer line through. There's a sewer line that runs through here.
Yeah, yeah,
The sewer line's up here,
yep.
and we're proposing to do plantings behind. There's an existing tree that was planted here as part of the prior mitigation.
Mm-hmm.
Proposing to do everything behind that, so we're staying out of the area where the sewer main is.
Yep, but so the temporary construction easement is no longer needed. It's like, because we wouldn't want, like, we would definitely not encourage you or even kind of allow you to plant in the sewer easement, but I want to make sure, is it okay for you to plant in this temporary construction easement because it's no longer needed as a construction easement?
I assume it was an easement that was created to install the sewer. And then when the sewer was done, it's sort of an abandoned easement that was just never officially abandoned.
Okay, so there's no pipes under there. There's no reason that the MDC or MWRA is going to come through and say, we want to cut down everything that's in that because we were allowed to.
Well, they have to get a variance probably in order to do that, because someone's going to say that this is a certified vernal pool. So let's just use the water quality regs against them, So
We tried that, right?
Yeah, we tried that earlier tonight. Yeah.
But
They got the magic bullet, man.
yeah, the idea is we really just want to put the plantings in a place where they make sense ecologically.
So these
Yeah.
letters, like the GE, those are your plants?
Yeah, what there are is there's two proposed 1.5-inch caliper red maples that will be planted sort of right along the wetland line. We're proposing to take down a unsafe dead tree that's located here. So we're proposing to plant 2 saplings on either side of it. We were going to leave a 6-foot snag for that dead tree. There's clearly a lot of bird use below 6 feet on this. Actually, there's a lot of holes in the tree. There's not much further up. So 6 to 8 foot height, cut it off, plant 2 red maples. Then the G's and the E's are actually inkberry and eastern red cedar. Rather than using bounds, we're going to essentially establish an evergreen hedge along the front of it with the inkberries and the cedars, and then plant these other 30 shrubs along the wetland boundary and inner buffer zone through the balance of the area. We have some button bush that we can plant at the edge of the wetland, and all of these plants can handle, the silky dogwood can handle their feet being wet. Most of the pool area is actually full of silky dogwood. So the plants were actually picked out based upon the hydrology of this particular area. And they're all native. And we proposed a 2-year monitoring program with 100% survival of the 2 saplings and 75% survival of the
30 shrubs.
38 shrubs.
38 shrubs, yep.
And that's what we're proposing. How it gets implemented, we have an expired order, an amended order. On Mar Street, you basically just allowed us to move forward. You approved the plan and just allowed us to move forward without any form of order to force it.
That sounds good to me. Can we do that?
It's
like, just let's like.
If the applicant's willing to do it and agrees to the plan and the commission agrees to the plan, and Ronald, what do you have to say? Are you satisfied with the plan, and are you willing to implement it and allow it to be monitored for 2 years?
Yeah. I mean, I'd like to get it done with, and yeah, that sounds good.
But do we have anything to point to? Do we still have an amended order of conditions? Have we issued a certificate of compliance at this stage?
There's nothing that's been issued. There's a partial certificate.
Oh, there's
that was
nothing that's
issued.
been issued. Oh, great.
No,
there's a-
that's how this kind of all started.
Yeah, there's actually,
When
Oh.
I talked to the homeowner and mentioned that there was an open order that needed to be closed out, and that's how this kind of all started.
I think there's a partial certificate that required monitoring of the plantings from 2015.
Yeah,
but
so
they never
obviously
monitored the
everything is
plantings.
expired.
So I guess
Oh,
we're
so is it just like
monitoring the
the last
plantings
one?
now
Mhm.
and saying
So-
that it's inadequate, we need to do some additional work.
Okay. So, okay, what's the difference between this and the Sunset Road that we are gonna issue an enforcement order on?
Technically, nothing. If you want to issue a friendly enforcement order that says, we'll
That
implement said plan, when we request the COC, we'll request the enforcement order be rescinded. It's just a piece of
Yeah.
paper. As long as the
That
term friendly enforcement order is used on it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's kind of sounds like what we are doing for 6 Sunset Road, so it's kind of nice if we do the same thing.
Yeah.
I think that's what we just agreed upon for that, and that would work for this too, and you're already submitting it, so we can say enforcement order, make this plantings. I guess I should ask the the end of the evening, I forget to keep turning to other people. Peter, you have anything to add?
Plan looks great.
David,
I'm okay.
Sue,
Perfect.
Allison?
I agree.
Yay, okay, so we can issue an enforcement order and say to go along with this planting program and monitor it for 2 years. Everybody's good with that.
Ronald, do you understand that? You muted again? Oh, you muted?
Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Sorry about that. Yeah, no, I understand that. That sounds good.
It's basically it's a two-page document that basically, since we don't have an order to do work in areas subject to their jurisdiction, it's essentially an order that replaces the order of conditions that basically says you can do this work, you have their permission to do this work. In fact, they're ordering you to do this work.
Right.
And then in 2 years, we can get that rescinded when we get your COC for the amended order.
Okay.
So, like, my only question is still about these easements, because I thought on the next property or another property, there were like 2 sewer easements. It wasn't a temporary construction easement. It was a 2 easements that we were like having them plant in the middle, which you kind of are planting in the middle of between these 2 easements, but.
I know.
Anybody remember that? Anyway, well, you're
Jim, I-
pretty much doing the planting between the 2 easements, so it's fine.
I think the other property had the same easements.
They said temporary construction? It looked the same, but I don't remember it saying
Yeah, one was-
temporary.
124 had the same easements, and we actually kept everything out of there because we could. In this particular case, there's really no other place to plant, and this place here makes the most sense ecologically.
Yep. I'm good. I'm good with it. Okay, so what else we need to do? Are we done? We have to.
Are you
issue an
talking in
enforcement-
general or just for this?
I'm talking about this and about this. What is
Okay.
our next step?
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
I'll draft the enforcement orders and you guys can ratify them at your next meeting.
Great. All right. Everybody good? All right, we have and John and Ron Schaffer?
Schaefer, yep.
Schaefer. You're all set? You're good?
We don't have to appear at the next meeting. You're just gonna ratify it, sign it, and then send it off, referencing this plan as detailed.
Exactly.
Yep.
Okay. And the other thing, we did want to discuss one other thing. Ron might want to plant some other natives elsewhere in the landscaping on the property outside of the 25. That's an exempt activity under the act and under the bylaw. So as long as they're native plantings, he can plant what he wants in
Sure.
landscaping areas on the property.
Yes, plantings are great.
Yep. So when he gets this order delivered, he can get some other stuff that he might want delivered at the same time and get it planted. So,
Yes, that's
Okay.
fine. Thank you.
does that answer your other question, Ron?
Yes, it does.
Okay, very good.
Thank you. Have a
Right.
good
Thank
night.
you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks. Okay, just we now only have 1191 Greendale Avenue, DP file number 2347749. This is a request for certificate of compliance, and I believe you
Yeah.
said it was in good shape.
Yes, for Saint Sebastian's. Yeah, I've been out there 2 million times and everything is good and I would
So-
issue a complete.
Anybody have anything to add, or are we ready to issue a certificate of compliance for DP file number 2347749? I'll take a motion from anybody.
So
that wants
moved.
to-
So moved.
Did I get a second?
A second.
Okay, all in favor, Peter,
Aye.
Dave,
Aye.
Sue,
Aye.
Allison.
Aye.
Yeah, great, thank you very much, then we issued that. I think the only thing left to discuss an order of conditions for 34 Meadowbrook Road. Is that true? Okay,
Yeah, and also there was minutes. I don't know if anybody looked at those or.
well, I didn't.
I did.
There, oh, did you? Good for you, Sue. Are they in the packet?
Yeah,
How many minutes are there?
2.
Did anyone else want to read? Can we just do this order of conditions?
Oh, I'm
really
sorry.
sorry.
They're
Peter,
ex-
Peter, did you read it?
Who are you talking to?
Yeah.
Peter, read the order of conditions for 34 Meadowbrook Road.
Yeah, though it's not as meaningful since I wasn't at that hearing.
Oh, shucks. Okay.
Looked clean.
Well, that's good. Okay. Oh, this is the one that you needed to do yeah. I mean, am.
Yeah, so
Bill,
if you want, I
guys have had
can,
you have had so many conversations with DEP about the riverfront area that, I'm amazed that people are still questioning us.
Yeah, it's a little frustrating.
Yeah,
Whatever.
we'll do it anyway, but I just gotta say.
Mhm.
Okay, so, okay, so this is a riverfront area. Is there anything we should be extra pay attention to?
so I memorialized some language just suggesting that it was, that the commission felt it met the performance standards under 1058-5 for redevelopment.
Right,
I cited the new degraded over the 10% of the existing degraded area. And so their new restoration area complies with that 2-to-1 replacement for everything over the 10%. For special conditions, things are pretty stock. There is language in there to make sure that they have the soil test pits for the stormwater prior to installation.
okay,
I have the planting schedule that they provided on the plans, with just a note that any substitutions based on plant availability should be approved by staff prior to installation. So
great.
if they have trouble accessing anything.
So a pink azalea is a native shrub, huh? Okay. It's just like a regular pink azalea. It's just a pink azalea. Like anything tricky about that? Sorry.
An Allison question.
Following
There
the
is a
word-
wild pink azalea, but it's called Pinkster bloom.
Okay,
So in addition, I wasn't sure if you wanted to add 3 permanent markers where the stream crossing area is. Pretty much the entrance into that mitigation area.
this is a little blurb of mitigation area.
Yeah, it's just a little
Yeah.
blurb.
Yep. Let's add some markers.
And
Very
then
good.
with that, operation and maintenance, as we put in for pretty much all stormwater units. The
Great.
only other thing, I don't think it was requested in their waiver because they were, or in their application, because they were staying out of the 25-foot buffer zone. But their plantings, their restoration area, did have to be situated within that 25-foot. So I wasn't sure if you wanted to issue a waiver of the 25-foot for the purposes of.
Yes, thank you very much. Okay. Anything else?
That's it. And if you're willing to issue that waiver, then you just need a motion to issue waiver and to waive the waiver fee.
Okay, we do that first, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so, anybody have an issue with issuing a waiver, a concern? Does anyone have a concern with issuing a waiver for the 25-foot work within the no disturb zone for planting within the restoration?
So moved.
I see nobody having, so, okay, so we waived it. That was the motion. Thank you. So, can I have a second?
A second.
These are getting way too long. All in favor? Peter?
I need to abstain.
Okay, you weren't here. Dave?
Yes.
Allison? Sue?
Aye.
Aye. Jen, aye. Okay, so that was waiving of the work within the 25-foot, waiving of the waiver fee. Have a motion to waive the waiver fee.
So moved.
Can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Peter, you're abstaining? Dave?
Yes.
Allison?
Allison's probably falling asleep.
She's wide awake. She just hits her mute every now and then.
Getting late.
So, and Pete, oh no, Peter, okay, Janet, aye. Okay, we did that. Okay, now we need a motion to issue the order of conditions for 34 Meadowbrook Road, DP file number 234906, as discussed.
So
All in
moved.
favor? Or no, we need a motion. Okay, second.
Second.
Good. All in favor? Dave?
Aye.
Allison? Sue?
Aye.
Peter's abstaining. Yeah, aye. Okay, we did it. We have to do anything else?
Yeah, do we have a consent? I mean, do we have a, what do you call it? How many?
Or,
was it
yeah,
3 of us?
we have a 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, we have a quorum. Peter's abstaining.
Okay.
You want to hold off on the minutes till the next meeting?
Yes.
Okay.
Unless somebody cares.
Yeah, and we're gonna have another one for you guys to review for the next meeting as well.
She did a great job. Those were long meetings.
Yeah, I know.
She's
I feel
here.
bad about this one.
Yeah, thank you. Sorry. I'm
Sorry,
sorry.
Kristen. All right, then I guess we're good.
I know. Allison, you're talking. You're not on mute, but I can't hear you. We could hear you earlier. The importance. Oh, wait, I guess you're sorry.
I wonder if there's a mute on the headset itself.
Maybe your battery's died. You can hear us. Good to see you. Glad you were able to participate. All right. And motion to adjourn.
I move we adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thanks, Allison. Can't hear you. No. All right. Have a good night, everyone. Bye.
Good night.
Good night.